Hey, thanks for tuning in to yet another episode of the Conversation Podcast here at Mccurdy's Comedy Theater. Today, Les and I sat down with our headliner of the week, Ron Feingold, and Marc Takemiya. Both these guys are very funny. Marc is actually our feature act. He's from California. He's been tearing it up. He actually just got back into stand-up about 6 years ago, and he's been killing it. Ron has been in the business for about 30 years, and he's always been a killer. He's based out of Orlando. Very funny guy. Works a lot of cruise ships, stuff like that. A lot of things to learn from this man. We talked about a lot of different things, such as like owing money, how to sell merch, how to dictate a room and control a crowd, stuff like that. So if you're a new upcoming comic, or if you're just a comedy fan, I think you're going to enjoy this one, and there's a lot to listen to, a lot to learn, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
Welcome to the conversation.
Bam, we're live.
Yeah, okay. All right.
It's a directional mic.
Yeah. Directional. All right, here we are again in the green room. The conversation is at Mccurdy's Comedy Theater. It's Les Mccurdy. As much as possible, we got a bunch of microphones set up here in the green room. It's not an interview per se. It is, as much as we can, the natural conversation that we have in here when we're just bullshitting around. So you kind of get an idea of what we talk about, which is not always comedy. And, yeah. And so Les here, of course, Mike Sullivan, who's our producer.
Hey.
That's him. And then our headliner this week is Ron Feingold. Here's Ron.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
That's what he sounds like. And it's Matt Wyatt.
Matt Carter.
Matt Carter. Where'd I get Wyatt? Fucking crazy.
Got a Wyatt face.
I have a Wyatt face.
You have a Wyatt face.
Nice
That's
to meet you, Wyatt.
Nice to meet you as well.
I think I was up at
I'll be Wyatt.
Was there a Matt Wyatt up at the World Series of Comedy?
Yeah.
There was.
There was a
That's
Matt
where
Wyatt.
I got it in my head. Okay, because we just came back from that finals up there. That was Ron.
Tell me about it.
I'm going to tell you about it. It was fun. The contest was fun. All that was fun. I love the. I was telling Pam, she didn't go. I said, she was like, I don't know why you're going to that thing. I said, well, it's fun. It's good for me to go. And I said, you get 100 comics together, 50 comics together. Yeah, come on in, Marc.
What's up, guys?
Hey,
Marc.
What
Sitting
it is?
down here just chatting. This is Marc Takemiya.
What's going on, everybody?
That's him. That's him. That's what he sounds like. So we're talking about the World Series of Comedy. We went up. I went up as a judge, and Mike was up there
As a loser.
Do you know about that because you were in it? You were in it. You were in it.
I think, right?
Yeah.
And so we went up for the finals. So
Yeah.
we go up there, and I will say that I was telling my wife Pam, why do you go to those things? I said I went up to Just for Laughs, and I hadn't been up there in years.
Yeah.
I said, getting around for comics, getting around a whole bunch of comics, and just bullshitting comedy.
the best.
It's fun. It's really fun. Now, for Pam, it's nails on a fucking chalkboard.
Yeah.
But for us, it's best. So anyway, Joe Lauer, who runs it, he's been kind of, finding places to host these finals. He did it in Vegas for a while, and that was really fun, but it got unaffordable for him. So he's been finding these little Midwest casinos, right?
Yeah.
So this year it was St. Louis, right? So
East St. Louis.
yeah, well that's it. Yeah. That's been the running thing. So I called David Scott, the comic,
yeah,
Midnight
yeah.
Swinger, and he lives there. And I was like, "Hey, Dave, I'm coming up. You want to get there and play golf?" Yeah. I said, I'm coming up for that World Series. I said, it's in the casino there. He goes, there's 3 casinos here. I said, oh, it's on the river. He goes, there's 2 on the river. I said, I think it's called the Casino Queen. He goes, East St. Louis. I go, yeah. Well, you have that little thing in your voice.
Yeah.
He goes, well, they shoot people over there a lot.
Yeah.
You know? Yes.
Yeah.
So we get to the casino. I get there that night, Wednesday night. Mike's already there. Mike's the greeter, come to find out. He stands in front of the door. I said, I don't even think he had a room. He just stood in front of the doors the whole time. But he's standing there with some other comics. And I was like, how's your room? He goes, it smells like gasoline, and I think there's a blood stain in the floor.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It was awesome.
Other than that, though.
And a needle dispensary in the bathroom.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, needle dispensaries in every bathroom. That's
You mean like a
first.
disposal, like
Yeah.
so
Yes.
you please don't throw your heroin needles in the
In
trash
other
can.
words, your clientele that has
Yeah.
so many intravenous drug users, they were getting tired of fucking with them in the garbage cans.
Yeah.
We ain't talking about diabetes.
I'm always
No.
polite when I use my intravenous drugs. I always put them in the disposal.
Do it properly.
That was like the
Absolutely.
number one complaint of people saying there's like keep stepping on needles.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the
Right.
bloodstains were from.
You get it.
I was surprised they did not have a needle supply. Like, he had the
They probably do.
toothbrush and the and the hair products and a couple needles.
I'm in room 24. Can I get a
Couple of
fresh
clean
needle?
ones,
Colgate, heroin, whatever you need.
Next to the blood pressure machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And it was funny.
did
When I called David Scott after I got there, and I said, "Well, I said I got to tell you, I hadn't stayed in a hotel like this since I was a touring comic." I said, "But I wouldn't have left. It's clean. My room's clean. Everything works.
Your
I got a
room's
view of the arch over the railroad tracks. It's all right." And I said, "But this is a hotel that their decor is based around stains." And then, and he said, and he just texted back, blood stains.
Yeah.
And I texted Mike, "You're correct."
Yeah.
And,
amazing.
And here was the other thing. When you walk into a hotel, or there was a hotel and then the casino was right next to it. Just the two separate buildings. So in each one, you had a set of 4 to 8 double glass doors, a little 10-foot walkway, and then another set of that same amount of glass doors. They felt it necessary not just to put a no gun sticker on every one of the outside doors, but in the 10 feet walkway on the other doors. Let's do it again. Let's double it up. And as if that's not maybe enough, let's go ahead and put a couple of big posters in the middle of the 10-foot walkway saying no guns. I said, when you've no gunned that many times, I am pretty sure you've done nothing to stop the gun activity.
Was there any metal detectors?
No.
No.
Yeah,
security?
nothing.
No.
It's like, hopefully these signs are gonna work. If you get shot,
Don't
think
make
we
me
didn't
write a
warn
letter.
anybody.
Exactly.
I'll write a letter.
Nobody was checking anybody.
Oh my god!
It's like a disclaimer. You might get shot in this casino. That's basically what they're saying.
And you look at the security guards that are there, and you go, "Well,
We told
this
them."
ain't gonna fucking help."
I'm a dead man.
Yeah, they ain't gonna help.
They're just going
But-
off honesty at that point.
It's an honor system.
Yeah.
But I will say we had no problems.
No, I didn't.
Staff was nice. Everybody was nice.
I twisted my ankle on the way back. That was fun.
You actually walked through the ghetto, didn't you, to the train station?
No, I twisted my ankle so I couldn't do that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Smart.
Because coming
Smart
you
move.
did,
I had to take
right?
an Uber. Oh yeah, on the way there, I took a train, about an hour train.
Because
And
you
it
were
was-
at the airport trying
Yeah.
to get directions, and everybody was like,
they were like, well, the funniest part, I'm like, I heard there's a train I could take. I was asking like the help desk, and they were like, where? And I was like, to the Casino Queen, and they were like, you don't want to do that. And I was like, well, I can't really afford to do anything else.
You
so.
alone?
Yeah, they're like,
yeah.
"Oh."
They were like, he's
Yeah.
going, I'm getting off at this exit. How do I do that? They went, don't.
Yeah, they were like,
Do
oh.
not do that.
I was like, I don't know if you want to go there.
Do
I don't
not.
know.
Do you remember a guy named Art Viliff? He had a comedy club in East St. Louis that was at the Ramada there. It was called Comedy Etc.
Ooh.
And a great club.
Etc.,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was a wonderful
Couldn't afford the L.
But
Did you play it?
Oh yeah, it was an awesome
What was
club.
the hotel they kept
It
you
was in a Ramada, and
Oh, you stayed in the Ramada.
yeah. It wasn't based around stains though.
No?
That sounds
Nice
interesting.
room,
yeah. But no, it was a great club. I was just wondering if you ever played that.
No.
I played there with John Rathbone. Christine Stedman is from there. I think,
Oh,
I know.
Nice,
I know
nice.
they have a helium and a funny bone there.
Yeah,
right
the
now.
Funny
Yes.
Bone's
Funny
been there
Bone's
for a
been there
long
forever.
time.
Yeah.
Al
Funny
Canal
Bone,
used
yeah.
to be. Remember Al Canal used to
Yes.
be involved with that one.
Yeah.
I don't know
yeah.
if he still is.
They're
I don't
good
know.
crowds though. I will say that they were.
You
regular
know, I
loud.
was amazed that in that location he got any fucking body. I mean, really. I mean, you've got two A rooms in that town, and
Yeah.
you know you're fighting that. Plus, the Cardinals were playing on Saturday,
Yeah.
on Friday and Saturday, right across the river, and I think there was something else.
The Blues.
going. Yeah, a big
the
blues
hockey.
festival.
Yeah.
Oh, the hockey.
The
That's
hockey
right.
game was going on.
Yeah.
So
How many
I mean-
people would you say they got?
I counted about every show I would see. I
50,
went to.
40 maybe.
50 to 60.
50 to 60.
50 to 60 on most every show.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
a
they
lot.
were good. They were seated right, and they were good. You could do well with them. You could have fun with
They
them.
wanted to
They
be
didn't
there.
kick anybody out, which
Was
is
that
great.
the size of the crowds that you got, Mark, when you did it?
Yeah. Probably.
50 or 60 people, that's on average? Okay.
Well-
you guys remind me. I did a run of shows a couple weeks ago in Arizona, just talking about the rooms we get put up in a lot. And there was a room that had 3 deadbolts. All were broken. They had replaced 1, 2, and then 3.
Couldn't bother to take the old one down.
No, so I called down in the front. I'm like, hey, the deadbolt, it's not working. And the guy's like, yeah, no, I know.
Ah, we'll come put another one.
No, he didn't even offer that. He was like, just basically don't keep anything in the room.
Don't get murdered.
Yeah, don't get
I'm
murdered.
in.
That's why we pay you. Is to be
They told me
safe.
the same thing at a hostel in the Filipino jungle that I was staying in.
Yeah, just do that.
Yeah. Here's a complimentary machete, and then good
Like,
luck.
here's a machete, bro.
In
Hide
all
your
the years-
iPad.
In all the years touring, you get those.
Oh,
I mean, they put you in the. They put you in the room, even if it's a decent hotel. You're in the room by the furnace,
The boiler room.
by the boiler or some shit.
Yeah.
They put you in the room that they would never book. They never actually put a human being in there. But and I've stayed in hotels where you go look at the pool, and the pool has not been functional for quite some time.
It's a new color of water.
Exactly.
There's some famous ones up in Columbus, Georgia. They had this is a Comedy Zone gig. It was called The Loft, and they would put us in a place. The owners owned the hotel. It's called the Colony Inn. And you show up there, and you can just tell that the place is rented out by the hour.
Yeah.
And it's just
wow.
disgusting. And I've never turned around and gone home and never stayed in a hotel until I saw this place.
really?
It's disgusting. I couldn't stay there.
Wow,
Yeah, I mean, that was something that by the time I started touring, I wasn't. I mean, I was in my late 20s, so I mean, I wasn't a real young kid, and I'd had a period of my life where I made decent money, so I wasn't used to staying in a fucking Ritz or even a Hyatt. But I was used to staying in a nice Holiday Inn.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And
I'll take a
something
Super
decent.
8.
Yeah, and I don't mind a Super 8. If I walk in there and
I'm all
it's
about
clean, I
Super
don't
8.
mind the shit's old, but everything's clean.
Yep.
Everything's fucking clean. But there are a few times that I walked into the accommodations and went,
Yeah.
just give me the money, whatever the fuck you paid. I can't believe you're paying anything.
Yeah.
Give me whatever you paid, and I'll go find my own accommodations. And I had a couple of times, and I stuck to my guns on shit like that. I went, life's too fucking short to
Yeah.
be treated like a piece of shit.
Amen.
Where I said, either you do it, I'll just go home. I don't give a fuck. I really don't.
Yeah,
I
that's
got
probably-
enough money to get home. You
Yeah.
know.
That's
Exactly.
probably why Les puts us up in that's a rad spot. It's perfect.
Oh well,
It's
of
amazing.
course.
It's not even a condo. It's a bungalow.
It's a
Yes,
bungalow.
yeah.
Really?
and I don't know what the difference is, but I love it.
Well, and a big part of that too is Pam, my wife. Pam gets. I mean, Pam will walk in this day and go. We were in there. I don't know, a few months ago, and she walked in. She goes, "We have got to paint this place. Paint it." She goes, "What are kind of like? What will the comics think?" I go, "They think the
nothing.
dishes. They think you can actually use the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. They think they can walk around here in their bare feet.
Yeah, they go, look, a refrigerator.
Yes.
Yeah.
They think there's a
That you can
light that's
open.
not a scoop light.
I mean, how comfortable is that toilet? Have you tried that thing? That thing is like a cushion.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, you got cushion on the seat?
There's a cushion
Yes,
toilet.
we
Yeah.
do.
I didn't know you were doing that good.
And they clean it.
Man.
It's
It's
crazy.
nice. Well, I'm not going to put a comic anywhere I wouldn't stay myself.
Yeah.
In a million years. And plus, it's just like with anything, I don't get that part of it where you treat an entertainer like a third-rate citizen. You go, don't you want a good performance out of it? Now, they're
Amen.
going to go and do well. They're going to do well because that's their pride and that's what they do. But I guarantee you, they're going to do a little better when they're not stressed.
You don't want their first
when
5
everything-
minutes to be all about the condo you have them up in.
Yeah.
We're like,
Couldn't agree
cool.
more.
I was like,
would
I gotta.
be- I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I would be on the ship still if that were still the case. They put us in a little box with no window and this bottom of a ship.
Oh.
It's hard to be happy when you're hibernating in a little
Right.
room
Yeah,
without any
absolutely.
sunlight.
Yeah.
If you want your entertainer to be happy, Give us some nice food. Give us some nice
Well,
accommodation.
you're a professional,
Yeah.
and you're a top level professional at that.
Yeah.
You know,
Earn it.
when you're doing that, you are, and you should be treated
Amen.
with that moderate piece of respect for God's.
They
And
don't
you know
have that
what?
mentality.
It doesn't cost. The amount of extra money it costs is so negligible to the club's bottom line, much
Yeah.
less Carnival or any of those
Please.
cruise ships' bottom
Yeah.
lines.
Not even.
It
a
is so
fraction.
negligible.
Yeah.
But they just, it's just kind of, it just
Yeah.
blows me away.
Some of them do great. I mean, I'm only talking the ones that I've worked. But no, there's some that really treat the performers right, and you get a great show out of them. You know,
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
do.
but I've seen so many just soulless comedians after 2 or 3 years just
Oh,
walking
yeah.
around like zombies on these ships,
Yeah.
just pushing out shows, and they're not happy people.
Oh, of course not.
It's horrible.
Of course not. I know one of the, and I tell this story to young comics all the time. I was just started headlining, and I was still living in my dad's basement in Chattanooga, Tennessee, because you're really living out of your car, so that was just home base, and this was a Comedy Zone gig, but not the guys that have it now. This was years ago.
Brad Greenberg.
Brad
years?
Greenberg and Ken Phillips.
Yes, sir.
And so it was one of those things, and most of their gigs were in the Southeast. And so I always told them, I'm based in Chattanooga, and it's mostly one-nighters with some weekends tagged on it. You know how it is. And so I know the nature of one-nighters. They fall out, and I go, you give me 10 dates and 2 of them fall. I don't give a fuck as long as I'm not going there.
Right.
I don't care. I get it. And so so I had done. They had a weekend in Charlotte, real nice room. I'd just done that weekend. Me and a guy from Detroit. Oh, what was that fucking guy's name? I announced anyway. So we did the Charlotte room. Ken and Brad were there. They were there, and we had great time, great shows. I had 2 nights off, and then a one-nighter in South Alabama, like down around Montgomery or somewhere like that. So I went back to Chattanooga, and the other comic came with me. We stayed at my dad's house, and then we drove down there, and it was a good almost 10 hours, at least 8 hours to get down to this thing. And we get there, and they go, no, man, the comedy's not starting up here for a couple of more weeks. We called them, we told them, we've been over this. So I call up and I get Ken Phillips on the line, and Ken's like, "Oh fuck, we forgot to tell you." Yeah, you did. You not only forgot to tell me when I was with you for 2 days, but you didn't even call or leave a message, or no, you didn't even have your secretary. No, yeah. So I said, I've always said if they fought, but I said, this one, of course, me and him drove all the fuck the way down there. I said, so get our hotel room covered, and then I want payment for this. Of course, you pay me for this. I came.
Right.
I'm here. I'm ready to go. So then they didn't pay me. About a week goes by. I didn't get paid. I said, whatever. So I called the office, and 4 or 5 times, Brad won't get on the phone, and so the secretary, who was sweet as she could be, she was like, Les, he's not going to pay you that money. And I said, she goes, he'll make it up to you. I go, how's that? She goes, by giving you more work. I said, that does not make it up to me.
Yeah.
That doesn't make up shit. He still owes me, and I've set precedents that he can do this to me again. I said, here's what we're going to do. I said, Margaret, you're sweet as you can be. I said, but we're going to role play. You're Brad. You're Brad right now, and I'm going to speak to you the way I want to speak, the way I would speak to Brad. And I just went, it's like, this is fucking darn. And like, it didn't last 15 seconds. And she went, hold on, Les. Brad got right on the phone. And the first thing he said was, you little punk, I'll break your fucking arm. And I went, do it, motherfucker. Break my fucking leg so I can take all your shit. Instead of just my $150, I'll own your motherfucking empire. And then and he's a big guy. He could do it. And he goes, well, let's calm down. I go, whoa, who's breaking whose arm?
Right, you came out firing.
Yeah, exactly. And
it was a crazy test. Like,
yeah,
oh,
it was
shit.
crazy.
This guy's
I mean,
crazier than me.
we're phone away. We're not standing eye to eye. I could get real crazy over the phone. And
I like that. That was Les's knee-jerk reaction. Mine would have been like, okay.
yeah, good. And then I can get a lot more than $150 off your ass.
Exactly.
And you know, and it ended up same rap from him. I'll make it up to you, but I'm not going to give you the $150. And I said, okay, cool, I'm done. Don't take me off your fucking list. And he don't give a shit. Cool. I'm just another comic out there, right?
Yeah.
But I told comics that was probably about 8 to 10 weeks worth of work.
That's
right there. But I'm gonna tell you this. I told that guy, fuck you. You know, I'm not gonna work for you. I never missed a meal.
Don't need it.
I never needed that work. I didn't, and at the time you would have thought, at that point in my career, I would have thought, anybody logically would go, how the fuck can I give up 10 weeks of my work? But I'm gonna tell you what, I found other work came along. You know, so I've always told comics, when somebody treats you like a piece of shit, don't work for them. I mean, really.
Yeah,
fuck them.
There's a lot of microphones out there, man. You know?
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
They're like, you don't need. I mean, at some point you have to take pride in your own self as a professional that you're a pro, and you're not going to be treated like a fucking, you know, some guy they just drug off the street that afternoon to tell some fucking jokes.
I'm such a professional right now. I'm not even gonna tell any stories. Shut my fucking mouth. So I'm still working.
I'm still disappointed you don't have fuck you buttons anymore. I can't believe you stopped doing that. That's still the greatest merchandising thing Oh, you do have them.
I will never stop doing.
Oh,
it's
good.
Gonna put my kids
Because I
through
thought
college.
the last time you were here, you didn't have
Oh
them.
no, I'll always do that. It's gonna put my kids through college.
Oh, I'm telling you, it is the greatest.
That's dope.
Nothing sells like a fuck you
They
button.
do well. They do well.
The funniest part is that you gave them out to the staff last time you were here.
Yes.
And we were all like, we're going to get fired. Like, we're
No, not here.
going to walk up to our customers and just be like, fuck you.
No, I will do that. I'm gonna be selling fuck you buttons into my 80s. They'll
Oh,
be
God,
my,
yeah.
my social security.
Absolutely.
Get your fuck you button. No, I was thinking of making a whole site called just fuck you stuff, and selling like greeting cards. You open up the greeting card and it goes fuck you, like the song. You know, just a whole bunch of merchandise.
And it's great.
All
What's-
of it geared towards, you know, fuck you.
What's so smart about it is like everybody's ever told me, they're like, don't ever tie your merch to a bit. Make your merch something you can sell
Well, you
without
have to-
having
don't
to
totally
tell the
I
agree
don't
bit.
agree with that at all.
No.
Tell Larry the Cable Guy that. Tell Jeff Foxworthy that.
Yeah.
Tell, you know,
Oh yeah, fuck.
I mean,
yeah.
that's all tied to a bit. And
Well, we
that's
were
all
talking
tied
about
to
this the other day. The
Yeah.
first guy to ever sell merch, ever, was a guy named James Gregory out of Atlanta, Georgia. Nobody sold merch. And it was back in the 80s. And James came to comedy a little older, a little wiser. He was a salesman. He had a career beforehand. And he knew how to market. And he knew how to sell. And so he built his show around catchphrases, things that would make them remember who he is, and that they would quote, and that he could sell a T-shirt or something off of. Brilliant at it. As a matter of fact, he would even say he called his T-shirts jerseys. So you will not. He goes, it ain't a T-shirt. Don't ever say it's
Good
a
idea.
T-shirt. It's a jersey. He goes, you can't sell a T-shirt, but this is back then. He goes, you can't sell a T-shirt for $25. You sell a jersey for $25.
That's a good idea.
Because they're jerseys.
That's dope.
You know, but James was the first guy to do that. He taught all of us, his comics. He told us, man, have something because you need the extra money, even if it's only an extra $50 that week. When you're out there touring, that's nice to have an extra $50 in your pocket. It fills up the gas tank, you know, and it helps you build your people and da. And I'm telling you right now, Jeff Foxworthy.
Oh yeah,
That's the
totally
reason
tied to a
he
bit.
put his book together.
Oh,
You
yeah.
might be a redneck if it's
Yeah,
cause
I would just watch. My wife wanted to see his comedy, and she's never watched it. And I watched it last night, and I realized I know every word just from growing up on it.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeff. Oh,
I was
sure.
like, God, I forgot how well I knew this.
I didn't realize till a few years ago I was watching something, and they were talking about who was the quiz was who was the number one selling comic of all time. Tickets, merchandise, everything across the boards, and it was Foxworthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also
Like, he was above
billionaire, isn't
Pryor, above Cosby, above.
Wow.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Merchandise albums.
Number
everything.
one guy.
Yeah.
It makes me feel a lot better because my merch is 100% tied to bits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it made me feel better that you guys were like, fuck what that guy had to say. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
wouldn't listen to that guy. I mean, your merchandise has to be tied to things that are general that everybody wants to buy. If it's tied to a bit that nobody's seen or understands in public, then it's not going to do well.
Yeah.
Like, I think, and Mike Spielberg, bless his heart, he's a funny-ass comic, but he used to sell a shirt called Pizza and Corn. That's all it said on the shirt was pizza and corn.
Yeah.
But it's tied around a bit that's like a cafeteria food bit, but you'd have to see the show. It's a hilarious bit. But
But I
everybody
think you have to have some, because that's what sells it.
Yeah.
Is something in your show. You know, like you get a lot of comments that go, they're not salespeople and they're almost embarrassed to sell their merchandise. So at the end of the show, they'll go, yeah, and if you want to, I got this T-shirt.
Yeah, they don't.
You know, and they don't do anything with it, and they don't sell as well.
Yeah.
And whereas if they make a bit out of selling their shirt, like
Yeah,
that's it,
it's a whole
you-
pitch, man.
It does. And I've found here, you know, don't you find this club the patrons buy really well
yeah,
here?
it's extremely well. It's a good week.
Part of the reason they buy well here is not so much that they want the item.
I want to give you money.
They want to support the artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they really do.
That's
for that
awesome.
reason. It's like giving you a tip.
And the median income in this town is about $1.5 million.
Well, it's better
that
than
helps a
average.
lot too.
They got the fucking.
They got that supporting money.
But it is out in California too. I mean, most of your crowds have people that have big disposable incomes, and
Well,
do
like
they
Les-
buy shit.
Les was telling me last night, and I thought about this. Like, you're talking about a lot of the headliners you see that connect with the audience after, stick around and talk to them. And I'm the feature, and it's like I don't have that in me. I'm more of an introvert. Like, I like to kind of hang back, sit back. But then I remember one of my favorite comics is Brian Regan. I remember watching him when I started, and he would hang back for a little bit when the show was over. Then he'd go out, and the core people that were true fans that were kind of sticking around, he'd talk to them for hours. Go have
Absolutely.
beers
Man,
with them, have dinner with them, and
I watched Jim Florentine this weekend talk to 150 people after a show.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And also make about $1,000 all weekend off selling books.
yeah.
Yeah,
You know, it
absolutely.
just,
I don't
dude.
understand where comics get off being dicks to people after the show.
I don't
They
either,
should
man.
it's the
support
worst,
us,
yeah.
and I have no idea. You know,
I'm
some
not-
They
guys,
like
just
you.
hide in the bathroom.
Keep having them
Yeah,
like
just not
you.
comfortable with strangers.
Right.
I mean, some guys hibernate here in the green room and they don't mix
Yeah.
with the customers
Yeah,
afterwards,
yeah,
and they
yeah.
pull that star attitude, and they get pissed off if they don't have a personal bathroom back here. They have to take a pee amongst the customers. God forbid.
Although I that is a running
huge one.
thing with celebrities.
Yeah.
Now,
Can't
not
wrap my head
all,
around
but
that.
you know that now, like, we'll take them out the front door and around, and I do have the unisex bathroom, which is because I have to, because I'm the size theater that we are. I've got a men's room, and you have unisex. And the reason you have to have a unisex bathroom here, regulation is that I am big enough that I am a what do they call it? I don't know, it's a meeting area or something. But anyway, you have a unisex bathroom because if you, as his father, has a 5-year-old daughter and you don't want to take her into the men's room and you don't want to let her go to the women's room by herself.
Really?
So you can have a place that you can take your kid, and it's not gender specific. It just has one stall in there. That's how they explained it to me.
I
as
love
far
watching
as
all
that
these
goes.
fathers bring their little girls
But
into the bathroom.
David Brenner was, who I love David. David was always wanted me to put a bathroom in. Every time he would come, he would look at the green room and he'd go, "Now look, Les, right here. Look, come here. See, we just need. I've measured it out." He would have the whole thing.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's not realistic.
David.
Yeah.
And then the one that got me was years ago, Brett Butler. If you remember Brett.
Of course.
Brett was the same way. She goes, "You got to take me to the bathroom. One of your staff needs to go. We need to wait till everybody leaves. One of your staff members needs to stand at the door. Nobody can come in while you use the bathroom." I'm like, "Really, Brett?" She goes, "Les, not once, many, many times, I have had cameras come over the top,
Oh my God.
under the thing."
No way.
Yes, when I'm using the bathroom. I have had people lift themselves up and look over to talk with me, to ask for an autograph.
Wow.
While you're using the fucking bathroom.
Wow.
She goes, "If people wouldn't do crazy shit like that," and she goes, "most people don't, but there's just when you're putting yourself around hundreds of people or maybe thousands, but in a theater, but in a comedy club, 200 or 300, 400 people, she goes, bet your ass there's some nuts in that group.
I'll shake your hand
do
after
weird shit.
Shake your hand over and take a piss. Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's how you know you made it, man, when they jump over the bathroom stall.
That's right, damn it.
Are you going upside?
No.
And tonight, at the end of the show, we do the little interview thing.
Oh, yeah.
So the way I'll announce it. So the way that'll work, and the reason I wouldn't let him do it is that I try to keep it kind of tight because we're doing 20 more minutes on the end. So, what do you to do? I mean, just what is your show going an hour? Does you go a little under an hour?
We're doing 45, 50.
Oh, so you're right there. Perfect. So you still do your 20, 25.
All right.
You keep it to around 45. That would be good. And I'll do about 15 up front. And that way we don't beat them up too much at the end when we do the Q&A thing.
Okay.
Great.
You just call us up.
Yeah, as soon as you walk, you can come on and leave stage, or you can not leave stage, Ron. I mean, hell, you can just stand there with me and we'll pull up a chair. If you want to come back here and grab water or something for a second, I'll kill a few moments. But if you want, we'll just all walk right up. We got some bar stools up there. We just drag them in front of the microphones and just go.
Right on.
Let's do it.
I want to be introduced again. After finishing up.
Yeah.
Introduce me again. Bring him out again.
Bye. Hi.
Remember him?
It'll be fun. That crowd looks like fire out there.
Yeah, is it big? I didn't get a chance to see him.
Last night was great, Ron. You killed it, man.
Well, thank
It was
you.
cool watching
I
it.
appreciate
It was my
that.
first time ever seeing you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Likewise. You did very well.
I was absorbing.
We were talking about differences between left coast and right coast, and I was talking about my opinion, but I didn't get yours, so I'm curious. I mean, do you notice more of an open? I don't get that PC shit going on. It's not.
No.
Maybe it's because my act is safer.
No, I'm kind of like you.
You're likable though. You're very likable.
Well, I appreciate it, but it's but I'm not getting that feeling that everybody's like, oh, you can't talk about shit these days. Yeah, you can.
just gotta
I'm not
do it
feeling
right.
that. I don't feel that at all.
No, I didn't either. I mean, I think it's like it's your angle you take. It's not like you got this one side angle where you're just brutal and.
But you feel more open-mindedness in California, don't you?
A little bit, but this club, like last night, I did a bit that I was nervous to do, and it got an applause break. I was
Would
like,
you
wow.
say Sarasota is red? Is it red?
Very.
It's red, but they're open-minded red.
Sophisticated.
70% easy in most of these crowds. I mean, it's going to be mostly Republicans, but we had D.L. Hughley in here, and D.L. We all love seeing a comic do a bit you shouldn't get away with, and we all love doing one that we shouldn't get away with, and it fucking works. And I can't do it justice, but he did a little thing about Colin Kaepernick, and then he flowed into this thing about Michael Jackson. Now we know he was a pedophile. And he does a thing about that, comparing the Catholic priests and things like that. If you're going to vilify him, you got all these white dudes that we hadn't vilified yet, and blah, 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 blah. He said, somebody actually asked me, would you still listen to his music? Like, would you sing a Michael Jackson song? Could you? Like, how could you? He goes, how could I? He goes, I could sing a Michael Jackson song, kind of like I could sing the national anthem. Ooh. And, boy, I thought we were going to see shit flying.
Oh.
No.
It got a laugh.
It
got a great laugh because it was true, and he delivered it so brilliantly, that the people went, it's just fucking funny.
Yeah, that was great.
Have fun out there.
He said, I'll stop listening to
Have
Michael.
a good set.
He said, I'll stop listening to Michael Jackson when you stop printing Andrew Jackson. Like,
No shit.
Yeah.
No shit.
I was like, God damn.
People are so naive about that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, what a
I know.
scoundrel piece of shit
He was a great president.
No.
No.
He should be
He
totally
shot
replaced.
a person.
Yes.
He killed him while he was in office.
Killed a lot of Indians, too.
Yeah, he did a lot of that. Yeah.
It's not a very good thing.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing. Les can go from a conversation here, and 2
Just
seconds
go right.
later just hop up on
I know.
stage and no big deal.
He's a conversationalist. That's all he is.
Talking about getting away with things. There's a comic he writes for Bill Maher. I think he writes for Bill Maher still. At least he did. David Feldman.
Oh, yeah, he
and,
does.
just a great comic from San Francisco. And I did this thing back when I started. This was this is 29 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It was called the Kosher Comedy Competition.
Yeah.
The first annual Kosher Comedy Competition in San Francisco. And we went out around to all these Jewish community centers.
Yeah.
And, just old Jewish people, but they're all, left coast, open-minded for the most part. and I couldn't believe that David Feldman would go up there, and I mean, just 80% people over 80.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? Screw Social Security. We don't need it anymore. And just putting all of these really, touchy subjects in front of people that you'd never think you'd get away with it.
Sure, yeah.
He's like, you think it's sad that you can go around and see an animal walking around and you can pick them up and have a place to put them, but you find a human being in some place there. I think we need a humane society for people.
Oh my God, that's funny.
And within 6 weeks, if nobody shows
claims
up,
them.
then what? You think we were going to say we did euthanize them? No. We should conduct experiments. So he's telling jokes like this in a
that's
Jewish
very good.
community and getting away with it.
Getting away with it.
That's
my
what
favorite.
the ballsiness of some comics that I remember seeing when I started. That it just was amazing to watch.
Yeah, I
and
wasn't
witness.
very well. I had a. Do you still do that Subway bit?
Yeah,
That's a
I
great
think I'm gonna
bit.
do it I didn't do it last night. I may do
It's a
it
great
tonight.
bit. I did something. I have a Jared from Subway joke that I do, where I'm like, I said I blame Subway. I said before Subway, he was 600 pounds trying to find his penis in his mom's basement, and I was like, after Subway, I'm like they got him in. I said they got him into rape shape, and and I'm like, and they laughed their asses off. I thought I was gonna get groans for sure.
Did you open with this?
Oh, he did. I
You
did.
did?
At an open mic, yeah.
Holy shit!
I opened with this.
Was it mostly comedians?
There's a lot more build up to it. No, it was an
Okay.
actual audience there.
Nice.
I thought Rape Shape was a little like too cut, and they fucking digged it.
I
So.
like how everyone was surprised that Jared. What was his last name? Jared
I don't even
Fogel.
remember.
Subway. There you go. Why
it
was
Jared
everyone?
Fogel?
Yeah, Fogel. Why were
think
people
you're right.
surprised that he was a pervert?
He looked a little creepy.
He looks creepy.
He did look creepy. Every commercial he looked
And what
creepy.
did he do? Nothing. He just
Looks like he
was
worked.
huge and then got a little
he
smaller.
worked in IT. Not to disparage people who work in IT, but like he had this look like he was.
Yeah. Like
I
he
don't know,
was
he's
he
like-
he created
like,
the dark
"Pardon me,
web.
Can I get by? He was touching the women on the hips in the office. Like he was one of them.
Yeah, he's office perv for sure.
Yeah.
I had ate early dinner tonight, and I saw a guy at the bar wearing a bungee cord as a belt.
Wow,
And
extreme.
yeah, extreme. Here, up the street. He had a bungee
Okay.
cord as a belt, and then he had his T-shirt flipped up to where it was a midriff. And I watched him. I'm like, nobody's talking to this guy. And I was like, that's kind of nice. That's how you get left alone
Yeah.
at dinner.
Was he drinking Code Red Mountain
Bungee
Dew?
cord, flip up the shirt.
up the
You're not
shirt.
even gonna hide it. It's like
Show
I
the
forgot a
navel.
belt.
Yeah.
Show the navel.
That is great though when you can present yourself like that when nobody
Yeah,
wants
let
to talk
people
to you.
know you're batshit crazy.
Yeah,
and no
absolutely.
one will talk to you.
I don't know why. I have a please come talk to me face.
Yeah.
People
Everyone
just
talks to you?
fucking they try to talk to me and then they're
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to
Do you
them.
do good with that? I do
Flip the
terrible
shirt.
at that.
I do. I
Really?
do, but it's like
Ugh.
I'm
so
an
bad at that.
introvert, so it's so emotionally taxing
Me too.
to
Yeah.
flip that switch on. I'm like, yeah.
So you're an introvert too.
Oh yeah.
So when you get off stage, it's not a natural instinct to go talk to the crowd.
It's not. I need
No,
10 minutes. At
Same.
least.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
give me a second. Like I just went
Yeah.
that's where all of my emotional energy goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is into performing, and then when I'm done, like it takes a
tough.
lot out of you.
Yeah. No, I know, man.
Yeah, it's weird.
I do the Leno thing. I go in the restroom and kick my feet up sometimes and listen to people's reactions of my jokes.
Oh,
Sometimes
yeah.
it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Yeah,
I
you're
remember
honest.
when my wife goes to the bathroom sometimes, she'll come back with a story that women were talking about me in the bathroom, and I love that.
Yeah.
Like, just tell me that story again, but slower.
Softer.
Yeah.
Softer but slower.
Tell it the way that.
I don't have time to decompress. A lot of times, here's the shitty thing, like talking about ships.
Yeah.
You travel all day, and then you would get to the ship, like you take off at 5 in the morning, get to the ship maybe at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then you have maybe an hour or so to decompress. Then you have to go to a meeting, which is a safety meeting, and then you walk around the ship and learn how to work the watertight doors. And then you have a sound check, and then you get a little bit of rest, and then I have a show at 11:30 that night in front of people that have been traveling all day that don't want to watch the
Oh,
comedy show.
yeah.
Ugh.
So yeah, and that's the thing. And then you have to talk to them afterwards. They make us talk to them afterwards. You can't
Jesus.
just take off or anything. You got to hang out and get evaluated on those kind of things if you hang out or not.
This is
Yeah, because you're like
weird.
an actual employee there.
Yeah,
Like
so
that's
here's
how
the
they
thing.
that's how they
have a
kinda-
host. This is for Carnival. They have a host, and it's usually a 20 to 23-year-old kid that hasn't watched a lot of comedy, and these are the people that are filling out our evaluations, which is another problem I have.
That's
with it. It's not a
hilarious.
valid way to really evaluate a comedian is to have somebody that's never really evaluated comedy or knows comedy.
Yeah.
They're just gauging on. I mean, you can gauge on audience, interaction and how well they did with an audience, but it's not right. You know, so. We'd be evaluated by these young kids, and if you don't schmooze them and get along with them, then they're going to give you a certain kind of slant one way or another way. So it's all political. It sucks.
That's like reverse, like where you got to suck up to the host, as opposed to the host trying to suck up to the headliner. Yeah,
it's exactly right.
Ah, it's weird.
Usually they're nice kids. They're usually great, but there's other people that they have a chip on their shoulder. And,
Are you talking about a 20 to 23-year-old like comic? Hosting?
No. This is
Just
like
a dude.
an employee that was hired to be a host of the comedy shows as well as doing other, entertainment activities on the ship. They also help people embark and disembark. They help, with the activities that are going on. Like,
so do they do material? Do they just come up and they introduce you?
We had one guy that was actually a comic, and he was a well-seasoned comic that was a host,
Good.
and he put a lot into it.
Yeah.
But there were other ones that would try. They would do a little bit of material, and they would just, crash and burn. Some of them figured it out. One guy went out and was just filthy. I mean, just tell the most god-awful, filthy jokes.
Oh, my
and,
God.
And it was hard to follow that, to get up there after he just grossed out the audience. And he did it every time.
Don't you have to be pretty clean now to work most of the...
Well,
what I thought.
for Carnival, you have to do 3 adult shows. And they prefer that they are, and these are 3 half-hour shows, and they prefer that they be different.
Yeah.
But if you're going to repeat one, so I would repeat one. I would do one show that I called Married with Children, and I would do that one once, and then I would have one called The Dirty Show, and I would repeat that one. That was 3 shows. Then I had a family show that was a half-an-hour clean show, and I would repeat that one because I really don't have another half an hour that I prefer to do in front of kids.
2 hours of material.
So I really did not enjoy doing shows in front of children. That's the other thing,
Yeah.
That's got to be hard for, like, if people on the cruise go to both the Dirty and the other show, and then they see you walking around the next day, like, that guy is so different.
Well, that's the funny thing is, like, a lot of them come to the clean show just to see if you can pull it off because they saw you say fuck so many times the night before.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way this fucking guy's gonna be clean.
Yeah,
There's no way.
they're gambling in the back. Yeah.
Oh god, but there are some horrible family shows. Just pulling
That's
teeth.
a terrible idea. I feel like.
Yeah.
Kids at a show is never... I mean, you look down, you see a kid, you're like... You rethink everything you're about to say.
Yeah.
One time I was working on a Disney ship, and I only worked one time on a Disney ship, and the adult show went fabulous. It was amazing. That was great.
Yeah.
I only have to do 2 half-an-hour shows, and then I did a half-an-hour family show, and I tell a joke about being at the doctor's office when we find out my wife was pregnant, and the doctor did a little computation, figured out the math, and he said, "Looks like your child was conceived on November 5th."
Right.
And then he goes, and my wife looks at me and says, "Were you home that day?"
Yeah.
And really innocuous joke.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the main office. This is on Disney. It goes back to the main office that I'm doing jokes about conception in front of children. A joke that flies way over their head. They have no idea.
Which is
and
like
I'm doing. I didn't even say the word conception.
Well, watch any Disney movie. They have a lot of adult humor in that doesn't land. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a lot of it.
That's
a lot of
clearly
it.
meant for
This was a cruise
the
line
chaperone.
The
you know
cruise
what I mean?
director
It's
brought
called
me
chaperone humor.
into his office and lectured me for an hour before my show about not coming down on the brand and being appropriate. Don't do this, don't do that, and it was horrible. So
I don't
it was
think
a
I
once in
do
a
well.
lifetime.
I don't think I do well if someone's telling me from Disney on that bit. That's not dirty at all.
It's-
That's
well,
about
Yeah,
timing.
it's not.
That's like where we at home or in the car, right?
Yeah.
It was. I had no defense. Like, you're doing jokes about conception. All right.
Yeah, and even if like I run an open mic at a brewery, which is like the new fucking Chuck E. Cheese. Like they just bring their kids, they get wasted, and there'll be kids in the room, and then the parents will say they're like, it doesn't matter. He's heard it all. You can say it. It's like, well,
Yep.
I don't want to fucking keep talking.
Yeah.
Until you fucking take that consent back.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't work particularly dirty, but if I want to try something, I want to try something.
I love it.
Also,
I love it when the club doesn't give a shit about the age of the patrons in there. They just want that ass in the seat, and they're going to take the food money and the drink money. They don't care. And the parent is like that. They're going to say, "Oh, he's heard it all. Don't worry about it. He's heard a lot worse at home."
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I warned you. I'm doing a closing bit about eating pussy.
Yeah,
Have
exactly.
you heard about that?
yeah.
Just so you know.
The birds and the bees in this one show, right?
Get it. Yeah.
So you keep this thing continuously rolling?
Just keep it going, man.
All right. Cool.
Rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time has he been up there? You got time to run to the restroom?
Most likely. I would say
Did they
you do.
start right at
I'm gonna
7?
take a look real quick.
It started about 7:07. You can look. If you peek, you can kind of see the clock.
Yeah,
Like
so he's probably got about 10 minutes.
you can see it up there. You know what I mean?
So yeah, what's up?
What's up, bro?
What's up, man?
Hey, man.
Steven.
Finally got you out here, man.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Steven is down south right now. He was
Really?
supposed to do a guest set for Brett Ernst, and then the host didn't show up, so he's going to do 15 and host for Brett Ernst.
Really?
What?
That's amazing.
I don't have that kind of luck.
No, yeah, no.
I
you,
drive to Sarasota and don't get to get on stage.
no, you don't even get. You don't even get to see people.
No, I knew it was a risk. But
Yeah.
we'll go.
I tried to get you on.
We'll
but-
go hit the mic.
Yeah, that's a good room though. Have you ever done?
It's not
Cock and
corporate
Bull?
ladder. Oh, Cock and Bull.
Yeah, sounds like a place you don't want to go to. But-
It's my favorite brand of ginger beer,
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
which is a redheaded soft drink.
are you a beer nut, craft beer kind of guy?
Not really.
You look like it, but
Yeah, you do. You totally look like a brewmaster from Sam Adams.
I get that a lot. That's what I open.
I
with.
bet. Just looking at you makes me want to get beer trapped in my beard and suck it out.
Get hammered, make pallet furniture.
I had a beer. I'm not like a big
How much
drinker.
time
I
is
can
it?
only have.
you got time or no? No, fuck. Right.
There's a cup right there,
I'm
man.
gonna pee on stage.
Yeah.
No, that's the Brian Scalaro method. I want to do that.
Some people smash watermelon, some people pee.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay
I'd
Brewing
prefer the
Company
latter,
has
to be honest.
Tampa Bay?
The Tampa Bay Brewing Company has a beer called Gourd's Gone Wild.
Oh yeah. My buddy is the brewer for them.
That's some
Yeah.
good shit.
It's good shit.
He's
yeah.
your friend. He brews
He's my-
there?
Yeah.
Does he make that particular one?
He makes all of them.
He makes them all. Tell him good on you.
Right on.
Some good
right on.
shit.
Thanks, Jeff
Yeah?
Dominguez, if
Oh
you're
my
listening.
God.
Really?
Congratulations. You
Holy
did great.
shit, it's good. I'm not like a guy that. I mean, I'm from Colorado, and I was a Fat Tire guy before Fat Tire came out. If you're familiar with Fat
Yeah.
Tire.
Fat tire, yeah.
And it's a new Belgian brewery, and they started in Fort Collins, and that's where I went to college. And
Oh,
you know,
okay.
got a
Oh yeah, I
little-
went to
Yeah.
their brewery in Asheville.
right.
I'm not-
Asheville.
Asheville, North Carolina.
No shit, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when they moved out east. It's an amazing company and really well run, and started in Fort Collins. So that's been my beer since I was a kid. But yeah. Anyway,
That's great. Yeah.
good shit. Highly recommend it. The next tour will be sponsored by Gourd's Gone Wild from the Tampa
Hopefully.
Bay Brew.
Hopefully.
I had a question for you actually, Ron.
Yes, sir.
You do the loop thing and stuff like that. How long were you into comedy before you brought that on into your
Okay.
act?
Well, when I was I was doing regular, straight up stand up for my first 5 years
Yeah.
in comedy, and I always interacted music or dispersed music throughout my show. But I didn't do the a cappella stuff until about year 6.
Oh,
And when
okay.
I did start that in year 6, it was with a CD player. There wasn't any kind of
Oh my God, yeah.
technology like that. There was no
Right.
digital technology. There's no such thing as a foot pedal looper.
Yeah.
So I had all of my music, which was pre-recorded in a studio that was a cappella. And the
Wow.
things that I did live were timed pieces. So to make it look like I was recording it live, I would do something live. So I would have a beat start out a song. It'd go, doon,
Yeah.
and then I would start singing, and it's
Yeah.
a time thing, and I'd do 4 bars of singing, and then
Yeah.
it was taken over by the recording if I timed it right.
Right.
So I go doop ba boop ba doom ba doom boom, and then it would take over, and the CD would go doop, and I'd build them on top of each
Oh,
other.
wow.
Right. And then the CD would go.
Right.
And so there were 4 of them.
Holy shit.
And that would show people that I'm building the voices, but that was the only way to kind of fool and trick people and it was all recorded. So I had to turn around, and if I wanted to do a different song, I had to turn around, click number 4 on the CD player, push play, and go
Holy
into the
shit.
song.
Yeah.
So I did that for a good 6 years.
Holy shit.
And I ran into a DJ in Iowa, of all places.
Yeah.
And he's like, you should look into this foot pedal thing. It'll revolutionize your show. You can put all your stuff there. You can create songs on the fly and
Yeah.
do it right there on stage. You can record your voice, and you can layer them on top of each other. You can have your songs that you did before and do it all with your foot.
Yeah.
So it totally
Oh my
helped
God,
my show.
yeah.
It changed everything.
Tremendously, right?
Yeah.
What
So
do
that
you-
was maybe 10 years ago.
Or what do you use, like an RC30 or
It's
RC?
called a Digitech Jam Man.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Let me
Really
ask you this.
simple machine.
How are you able to practice that?
Yeah. So
that's how I was wondering. Because you can't do that on an open mic, right?
Yeah. It was impossible in the beginning because I had to figure out how to use this thing.
Yeah.
Now, just queuing up a song was easy, but if I wanted to create a song in front of people and build a song, I had to learn how to do that.
Right.
And it's all on the looper. It's a timing thing. It's all on a 4/4 time signature. If you know what that means.
Yeah.
Everything is 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, and everything that you record on that thing is on that kind of pace.
Right.
So, and if you want to change that, you got to change, some things how you record it. So, if you hit a button at the wrong time, then it's not going to record right, and you're committed to a bit that you just recorded or a song that you just recorded, and you got to keep going with it.
It's out
or
of
just
rhythm.
Stop and say you fucked up and start over again, which I've done before too.
Yeah.
So, it took some practice and a lot of practice.
Did you practice off stage?
Yeah, a ton
Okay.
off stage.
Okay,
a
yeah.
ton.
Yeah,
Just by
it's
myself with
in
my
the moment. That's
speakers.
just hard to use.
Yeah.
Did like clubs get nervous when you were like,
They didn't know. They had
didn't
no
know.
idea. They
They
had no
didn't
clue.
know.
They had no
like
clue.
what is this device?
They were
And
more
you're like, don't
worried
worry
about
it.
how I was clicking into the system because I would
Right,
have to,
right.
rig it into the system somehow
Sure,
and get the right chords connected. But it was a transition. But I figured it out, once I figured it out and learning harmonies and figuring out how to do funny songs, and doing things on the fly. Like I can ask, somebody in the audience. Like tonight, I'll probably ask if there's somebody that has a request or something, and I can usually kick out a song or some kind of version.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it took a while though. It did.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always wondered that because I remember like Bo Burnham's story was that he had a whole musical act, but he had to just get really good at doing it because no open mic could like facilitate any of what he was doing. So he just had to get good enough to get booked at actual shows.
It's
and
hard
actual
as a
clubs.
musical act, man. It's the hardest thing because number one, people don't take you seriously as a real act.
Yeah.
And number two, you're put in a category of variety.
Right.
So that's been the hardest thing in my entire career is telling people that sometimes they think I just get up on stage and start singing. Sometimes I do just to do a little surprise, but they just think, hey, just get up on stage. There's no stand up in this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, 65-70% of my show is stand up.
Right. I noticed that last night, not knowing what your act was going to be, but knowing that you did music.
And that's the thing. It's a misnomer. It's a misconception that I get everywhere I go, and it's hard when you're booking because they're like, well, who's this singing comic guy?
Yeah.
What's this bullshit? And then
Lot
finally
of-
they realize like I'm a bona fide stand up before this. I could do it without the looper.
A lot of comics will like get weird about that too, about like musical, like a guitar comic, like oh
yeah.
but they could be great and they're still like oh fuck that guy. And
I
like,
just feel like for me, it's just one of those things. It's like if you're gonna go for that, and I know that like not everybody is great right off the gate, but if you're gonna pull a guitar out, I'm like, my first thought is please be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna feel bad for you if it's not.
Yeah.
Like it hurts.
I definitely have my haters and people that are purists that are just strict monologists. They view what I do as not stand up.
It's like
and
hack or
that's
some
fine.
bullshit.
It's totally fine with me. You can totally have your opinion.
Yeah.
I've done it for 30 years.
Right.
I've been consistent and persistent. I'm here 30 years later.
Right.
I win. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It'd be great
Can't
if
hit
right
on
now
that.
I just grabbed a guitar before I went on stage.
You're like, all right,
You guys
fuck
would be like, oh my god, he's a guitar comic.
we just talked so much shit.
How come no one
I'm not
said
talking
anything?
shit. I just feel like it's like, oh my god, please be good.
Yeah,
It's
no,
gotta be
I get
good.
that. I get that for sure. You know what? When I was up at that competition, World Series, I was surprised how many guitar comics there
Did
were.
they have a lot?
Several.
Interesting.
And they all killed.
Anybody? Oh yeah.
Every one of them at least made it to the next round. They didn't necessarily make it to the final, but they all and I got knocked down the very first round. So I'm sitting here like, fuck, and then I see a guy with a guitar like getting like cheered on that he won the first round. I'm like,
remember,
fuck.
They're getting better talent on that thing. When I did
Yeah.
it, I made it to the finals because there was not a lot of talent.
Really?
Yeah, it's hard now.
No, it's hard. Yeah,
I
I was
did,
with all headliners.
So you getting knocked out is basically like getting to the quarterfinals, just so you know.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I did the Colorado Comedy Invitational back in 1994, and there was a guy going around named Mitch Hedberg,
Yeah.
and he was bombing everywhere.
Wow.
Everywhere. Nobody was fucking getting him, and nobody was understanding it. All the comics thought it was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
We're going to all these small little towns in Colorado, and he's just bombing everywhere.
Yeah.
And here's the funniest thing. We had a light on stage. The light. Did they have a light for the World Series? Like it's green, and then it's yellow, and then it's red.
Just a light, a light you can barely see in the back.
We
Yeah.
had a green light, and then there's a yellow light, like wrap it up, and then
Yeah.
red light is
That's,
get
I
the
wish they
fuck
did
out.
that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so Mitch was very conscious of the red light, and he'd be in the middle of a joke, and he'd see that red light come on, and he would just tip the fuck out the door. He would just
Yeah.
leave right away.
Wow.
He'd be like, so my cousin, at a red light, walk away. But nobody got him. Nobody understood. Nobody got him. There were who else was in the contest? Chris Titus was in that year.
Wow.
Mary Ellen Hooper was in that year. Greg Barrett was in that year.
Wow.
Mark Moran, not Mark Maron, but Mark Moran.
Moran, yeah.
Do you ever meet Mark Moran?
With a D on the end. Right?
Moran, not Marin. Yes. Remember him from New Jersey? I won't talk anything. And then let's see, who else? Just tons of people that were in that contest that made it. And the thing is I was amazed by this. Tommy Chong was one of the big headliners that they brought in to headline the big finals and everything. And all these comics were great and wonderful. And Tommy kind of walked the audience.
Wow.
The nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
He's so nice. But I remember Bud Friedman, most of all, just getting up and tipping the fuck out the door. I'm out of here. It was by the thing he was doing the what was that bit with the sniff and the tushes? The dog bit. Yeah.
I'll tell you a little Tommy Chong thing. Tommy played our club 6-7 times, and the first time we heard he was out touring, because Tommy was never a stand-up comedian.
That's right.
And so he was at a club in Clearwater, Ron Bennington's club in Clearwater, and so a bunch of us, we were huge fans, and we all went over there, and everybody it's packed, and everybody in the audience is a massive Cheech and Chong fan. And same thing as you experienced. He got up there, and this is where I tell people about stand-up comedy. I don't care how big a star you are and how much they love you. They'll give you 10 minutes out of gratuity and love. Yeah. And after that, if you're not funny, it don't matter who the fuck you are. I mean, Jesus doing stand-up, if he ain't got 10 minutes, they'll turn on him in 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Get to the good shit.
And they didn't, they kind of respectfully hung out.
Yeah.
They kind of respect, but I mean, it was really awkward. Yeah. And so what I found out later was that was when he first went out, and he really thought he could just talk about Cheech and Chong days, take some of the old bits that they did and just refabricate them. He didn't really understand comic timing, how fast jokes had to come, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So what Tommy did was he just at a point of having a few of those shows, he went, I'm not going to do this anymore. So he went back and got a team of writers and sat and did what you're supposed to do, and he worked out a show, and then he had a show that was very acceptable to his fan base.
Yeah.
That
he
just
toured
loved
around a lot.
But I've had several, a lot of I've seen that happen with several of the Saturday Night Live people that aren't comics, and they're not stand-ups, and they decide once they left the show to go do it, and then and they're just and it's always, I'll get pitched those people when they first go out, and I never take them right off the bat, because I just know that they're going to need a couple of years out there to get their chops together. And most of them do. Most of them, they don't bail. They mostly they figure they can figure it out.
So we're not going to book Stormy Daniels? Because I heard she's doing stand-up now.
I would bring her in on a Monday.
On a Monday.
A Monday one-nighter. I'll bring her in on a Monday one-nighter.
All right,
if Feingold can open for her. That's
I will open all the way.
It's a double opening. I had to say it as well.
Please. No, I think the YouTubers, too. I mean, a lot of them have really huge followings, and then they come to a place and sell it out, and they have nothing to stand behind.
But Ron, I keep hearing about all these YouTubers that can sell out your room. I've only gotten one. I mean, I hear that, but I was talking to Marc Ridley, up in Detroit. I said, he comes down here in the winter, and we were playing golf. I go, have you gotten any? He said, I've gotten 5. But he goes, only 2 of them were comics. The other 3 were young guys that their whole and they did afternoon shows, and they sold, and it wasn't even. He goes, Les, they sold tickets anywhere from $25 to $50.
Jeez.
And they would fill my place up, you know. And I mean, he's over 300. It's all teenage girls and
Yeah.
their moms.
It's like a meet and greet.
It's teenage girls. It's young girls. They're bringing gifts for this guy, and he gets up and talks to them for about 30, 40 minutes. It's not stand up. He's just talking to them and being charming. And then he sits at a table and sells merch.
Yeah.
And they give him something, and he sells them something, and they sit there. But then there was the first one I got was this guy Michael Q. I hadn't heard of him. It was about a year and a half ago. I get an email from a guy named Michael Q. He goes, "Hey, I'm a comedian. I'm going to be in Florida, doing a bunch of clubs down there." He goes, I feel like I can fill your room up or close to it on a one-nighter. I'll take any night, you know. And I just kind of blew him off at first. And then I started Google searching. I'm not finding anything. And then I started asking comics, and just like you, Ron, they're going, "No." Just like you're going, "No, I never heard of some bitch."
Yeah.
And so I go, "Hey, Mike," and then he's sending me, "Hey, you know, he sent me 2 or 3 more emails." I go, "Send me a list of the clubs where you've done your show." Well, he does. There's 25 of the top clubs in the United States, the very cream of the crop clubs, and a lot of improvs. So I call Renee Hart over there in Palm Beach. I go, "Renee, you know Michael Q?" She goes, "Oh, yeah." She goes, "He'll pack your room." I go, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah." She goes, "I'm telling you right now." She goes, "We don't know how he does it." You know, she goes, "You won't sell a fucking ticket through your website."
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
all him.
It's all him. I said, "Well, okay, and we took a risk with him. You don't get any reservations, but Bronwyn, my assistant, she was just, you know, staying in contact with him. I said, he needs to let you know what he thinks the crowd's going to be through what he's doing." And he said, and when it came a couple days before, he was like, he goes, "I'm thinking," it was like a Monday. He goes, "I'm thinking it's going to be 150 to 175. I'm like, "Okay, all right." And of course, I'd never done that before with no ticket sales. You know, I said, "I'll risk it." Renee said, I'll risk it. We had 200, almost 250 people in here. We were understaffed. More people than he thought was going to come.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's internet. He is
An
one of the guys that
inspirational
has
guy.
pulled off building a following on the internet through, you know, all your different platforms, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or multiple platforms. He's done it, and he knows where they are. You know, he has worked diligently enough at it that he knows how to pinpoint in his audience, and he knows where there are in regions.
And does he do something in his act that's different than anybody else?
Nope.
He's
Nope.
targeted the
Nope.
audience.
And I'll tell you what, he got on stage,
He's
young
a
guy,
Pakistani guy, right?
and he did a very acceptable headline set.
Is he Filipino?
He was a guy that I would describe great feature act that can close a room. And but very acceptable show, and funny guy, had some funny stuff, and we're bringing him back in November. And
Yeah, I think it's this phenomenon that he's an internet sensation.
Yes.
Like, these people are internet sensations. So when they do have a live show, it becomes this like, oh, like I've only ever seen him through my digital screen. Like I need to see him live, and it's almost that level of a celebrity because it could be your only chance to see him.
it is a level
in
of
person.
I mean,
in
you
person.
know, it's
very
har-
strange.
And you know, we've talked about it a million times. It is extremely hard to draw.
Yeah.
I mean, we have acts. Ron, you're one of them that come in this room, been coming in for a while, and you always. I mean, you come in here and you do great,
You crush it.
great, kick ass. And we have a bunch of headliners, but there's no draw really, and it is amazing how hard it is
Yeah.
to make that happen without a television show or movies.
And now, but
You
now
know.
you can do it if you really can commit to it. You can do it with YouTube.
I
You can
wish
do
more
it on
people
Instagram.
would.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, you hear the rap. You can. Michael did it. We got this guy coming in with this love thing game
Yeah.
show. We don't
It's hard
know.
work,
We don't
though.
know but he's saying he's going everywhere, and he's got those great clubs and stuff but we'll see how it does here. But boy, oh boy, think if I as a club owner had 20 of those, that means twice a month, every year, I'm filling up my room.
Yeah.
Twice a month, every year,
Ticket
I'm filling my
sales, too.
room up. Even if I give them all the ticket sales, just off of the revenue from food and beverage alone, I go, that is a hell of a chunk of change
Fuck yeah.
that doesn't exist right now. I mean, you know, that's the kind of thing that could really help prop up the whole industry. You know, when you're talking about when you're not the big clubs in the big cities, but your average clubs and mid-sized cities and stuff, you know, you're talking about throwing an extra $50,000 to $100,000 a year into their pocket.
Basically.
Well, yeah, that can be the difference in your club going under or making it, or the difference at least in your owner having enough incentive to stay in it for the amount of work that they're putting in. You know, absolutely,
Yeah, we all as comics, especially the up and comers, we have to start doing that. I think like that's the new play.
What?
Followers, getting followers.
Oh yeah, of course.
But like also putting out content that drives people to your shows. Like so many comics, like, and you know this, right?
Yeah,
they think that going on and doing a Facebook Live once a month is enough.
Yeah.
And it's like no, and or they're hoping that like just by one video they'll catch fire. It's just consistently putting out content over and over again.
Agreed.
And getting.
I've never been one for social media, but now you don't have a choice. I was like on the verge of deleting my Facebook.
Yeah.
Before I started doing comedy, and I was like, I have no option now. I have to.
It's weird.
Well,
Because you can't just be funny. You have to be out there. You have to be a personality that people subscribe to now, rather than just being a guy that's funny. That I saw him, I can't remember his name. Now you have to be the guy that like they're constantly seeing videos of you on their Facebook feed.
Well, you know, back before there was the internet, still and I just said this up in a seminar up there at the World Series.
Yeah.
I basically see comics fall into one of two categories. You're either a crowd pleaser or you're a well-defined character. And crowd pleasers are me.
Right.
Crowd pleasers, I go up, I've got enough different material that I can go up in front of any crowd anywhere. You can be told this is a clean crowd, this is a dirty crowd, and you go, okay, I'm just right now off the fly. Or you can get in front of the crowd and go feel them out in your first few minutes and go, oh, okay, I know what to do with this group. Well-defined characters become celebrities. Crowd pleasers rarely become celebrities because well-defined characters are finding their audience. They're finding their people, and they don't shift. If they get in front of a crowd that doesn't dig what they do, then they're just going to bomb.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to shift into doing what they think the crowd wants them to do.
They don't pander at all.
They do their thing. It takes a lot. It takes a lot more work.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot more courage.
Yeah.
To stand there and know that some crowds are not going to get you, and you're just not going to have a good time, and they aren't either.
Yeah.
You know, but that's how you get, to me, that celebrity, because then you're branded.
Yeah.
Then you can be branded. But that's what set you apart. And then it was all about getting television. But when you talk about it, now the internet's here. Well, it's all the same. It's all multimedia.
As long as you're on a screen.
It's all media. You're putting yourself out where a lot more people can see you.
That's all it is.
And you know, if you go on the Tonight Show back in the Carson days, you had half the United States watching you.
Right.
If you went on Tonight Show today, you have a few million people watching you. What, 5 or something like that? But not even close.
Not even the same. Yeah.
And but if you're getting popular on the internet, can you find a platform up there that has that kind of viewership that you can build, or what? There are. I know there are.
Like look at there's this one, and it's so stupid. I mean, really, the person who came to this fucking show, I'm like, how? It's a guy, he interviews you, and you eat hot wings.
Oh yeah, hot ones.
Hot ones. It's like listen, the
Krispy Kremes.
It's very professional.
Is it Krispy Kreme hot ones?
No, it's just it's called the hot ones.
Oh,
and it's literally like he's interviewing like Kevin Hart.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
the
like
hottest wings in the world.
Eating the hottest wings in the world, but it's like it's
You
very
gotta
well
talk.
production
they're the
value.
hottest in the world, but he has them like
Yeah.
go up.
Yeah, you
While
start off
you're
with like
crying.
something. You,
Well, so, yeah, he's
you start off something simple and it builds up to like a really hot wing where you can barely even touch.
Well, it
with
has
your
a
mouth.
theme to it. That's
But-
the wings are nothing but a theme.
But it's like it's such a
Yeah.
simple, stupid format.
Right,
But,
but-
Jesus Christ, if you get on that show, you're getting booked everywhere. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
But the thing is that that's that thing. That's that person's celebrity. That it's a theme. It's something that he's stuck with.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like you just said. You
Consistent.
go. I can go when you explain the show. Oh, it's a hot wings show.
yeah.
You know, it's that simple.
it's that
You
simple.
know.
It's not.
Hey,
there's
by the
no
way,
elaborate.
I
Scheme.
said when you walked on stage, I love the. Where'd you get those boots?
I found them online, man.
Did you really? I get a lot of stuff online now
I'm
too.
blaming Brian Bradley for all this shit. I'll show you a picture
Oh,
a little bit later. It's kind of boring on a podcast, but
Nice.
Fluvog or whatever. It's a shoe.
Fluvog.
Fluvog. Yeah. You ever heard of it?
No.
Okay.
FLOO.
FLUEVOG. Something
Okay.
like that.
Fluvog.
And they got like stores in San Francisco, New York, and Sweden
Uh-huh.
and shit. I
I
don't know.
love it.
And they have, but this is not from that. It's just from China. It's just
Oh, okay.
cheap ripoff.
Okay.
But I wanted to be 6 feet tall. I was going back to my reunion for high school, my 30-year reunion. So I'm like, I'm going back 6 foot, man. I have to. So I found these are 4-inch heels.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so
nice.
and I'm a big Prince fan. I don't give a fuck anymore. So I got a lot of hate, man. I got a lot of. I put them online and I
Yeah.
put some pictures on it, and I got some people just some real homosexual stuff flowing at me.
Really?
And yeah, and I'm like, I'm good with it. I'm totally fine. Go hate all you want.
Because you wore those
because
shoes?
I wore these boots because I put them on there.
Really?
I'm getting some hate, like, so you're not into
Oh.
chicks anymore, Ron? So
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was hysterical how much hate was being flown at me. So I'm buying more.
Which are mainly coming from people that don't get much pussy.
That's right.
Yeah, of course.
I'm exactly right. That's exactly right. So I love these shoes, man. You feel different in a nice pair of shoes, just like you do in a good pair of pants or a nice
absolutely.
shirt.
Absolutely.
It changes your vernacular and your
It does.
your attitude.
Oh, yeah.
sometimes.
It
so when I
does.
put these on, I feel like a different person.
Nice. I'm going to go check that out. My grandfather was a phenomenal dresser, and he couldn't read or write. Had a restaurant, had a barbecue restaurant for 50 years. It was successful in our town. My grandmother had the education to do that kind.
yeah.
But he was just he was the guy that did the work part of. But once he got successful, he had his slacks and shirts tailored. He loved going to Miami for the Orange Bowl. He would always buy his shoes either in Miami or Atlanta, but mostly Miami because he could get these exotic, alligator, lizard shit. You didn't see that shit. I mean, you're talking about back in the 60s and
Yeah.
70s,
That's not
you know.
mass-produced either.
No,
It's very
he wore
unique.
Countess Maritas, all that kind of stuff, and the fedoras,
The fedora.
and
love
just a
about
real. And I've got some of his shoes. I was the only one that fit
Are they heels
after he
and
died.
boots?
And he didn't have any boots with the big heel on it. His are just like a regular heel. But the front of them look like those. I've got one pair that are actually, believe it or not, they were made by Stetson, the hat people.
Yeah.
And they're black alligator. But I'm about to wear them out. So I've been going and looking for comparable shoes. When I find them, they're $1,000 to $1,500, which they're probably worth it. I hadn't brought myself to pay that
Yeah.
much for a pair of fucking shoes, but
Those are the next ones there.
oh, cool, nice.
I love it, man. It's my new thing.
Does Laura think your ass looks cuter in them?
Here's the thing. She hates it.
Oh,
Because-
really?
Yeah. Here's why. Because everywhere we go, usually she's the one that's dressed
Yeah,
nice.
you got
She's the
better
one
shoes.
that's usually getting the compliments everywhere we
As
go.
well she
And
should.
I am getting the compliments now on my shoes.
Hell
and
yeah.
She fucking hates it.
Does she wear heels?
She does, but they're not shiny and pretty like these, so they get more attention than her, and she fucking hates
That
it.
is
That's what she
fucked
does.
up.
You keep dressing like a trophy husband.
Oh,
That's-
Are we done? All right. Well, there we go.
All right, man. Good luck.
It was a pleasure, Jim.
Absolutely.
All right. I gotta get in show mode. How'd it go? When I get yeah. All right.
Update, Mike.
Yeah.
Steven ate a bag of dicks.
We love you, Steven. Sorry.
We love you so much, Steven.
Yeah. Although, too bad. Probably not gonna get booked off that. But
But still,
did I tell you when he missed a guest spot here?
Yeah.
He didn't show up, and I was fucking with him so bad. I'm like, dude, there was an executive from the Tonight Show here sitting in the back. Man, like, you have no idea. Les said he was gonna give you a feature spot based off of this. Like I just totally fucked with him.
He was so bummed out.
I know.
He's like, I love him so much.
Yeah.
He's just you gotta let him ebb and flow the way he wants to. He's great people though.
Yeah, he is a good dude.
Who was that? Who are you talking about?
Stephen Henry. We've had him here a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
Stephen Henry.
Yeah, this guy.
He's got a very interesting style. Like he's one of those guys you're talking about though. He'll find his audience. You know, he's definitely not a panderer. You know, he's not a crowd pleaser at all. Like he gets his audience and his audience gets him. You know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Dark.
Yeah. What a sport.
Yeah.
What a sport we play. It's weird. Yeah. It's great fun.
Yeah, I love it.
Especially when you make a living off of it.
I was at the open mic last night. First time I got up on stage in 3 times in a while, like in one night, you know. And so I went to this place called the Highway Bar that Drew Schlatter was running. Actually, it was all rednecks, like at a dive bar. I was doing my jokes there. Good set.
Where was it?
Over deep in Bradenton.
Oh, okay.
A cash only kind of place, you know.
Oh yeah.
Like real dive bar. And I come here and I'm getting ready to go up. I'm doing like all new material, and I'm sitting outside, and this girl comes up, and she's very, very good looking, and she's like, "Oh, are you going up tonight?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh, you're my favorite." And I go, "Don't put that kind of pressure on me." I said, "That's not fair." And then she walks inside, and starts laughing. I go up, I do my material. It's not my best set. I got some good laughs. I kind of like kiltered off towards the end, and I get off, and she walks out, and she's like, "Did I fuck with you? Is that what the problem was?" And I was like, "You and the whole audience."
Right.
And she goes, "Yeah, because you suck tonight."
Oh.
And then she turned around and just walked away.
There you go.
And I was like, what the fuck?
How long you guys been dating?
Brutal. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's how fickle it is.
I was like, I lost the fan that easily. She's like, yeah, you were terrible. And then she walked away. I was like, fuck.
That's too much.
I had a guy one time after a show at a crosswalk made an effort to come to me. I was going the other way. And he looks at me and he goes, "You were horrible. You should stop."
Damn.
Yeah. I was like, that's aggressive. Like, this is the only job I think where like that's expected sometimes.
That's expected, yeah. Did you push him into traffic or?
He could have stopped at "You are horrible."
Yeah.
Like then
Yeah,
I could do what I want with that information. But then he goes, "You know what else? You should stop."
Yeah.
I have
That's weird.
said that same thing to some painters and pavers.
You're horrible. You should
You
stop.
should stop. Like really now.
Yeah.
'Cause I gotta bring somebody else in because you are horrible.
This is not going well.
No.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not just us.
Yeah, people.
But yeah, it's so subjective, and
They feel like they have to tell you. Like,
They have to
Some
let you
people
know.
do.
They don't want you to let you continue. Like if I don't do well, I fucking know I don't do well.
Yeah, exactly.
right.
When I don't do well, I need you to point it out. I was in the goddamn room too.
My favorite is the people that walk by like,
I'm okay with that because that's like an empathy thing. They were like, dude.
One of the
eh.
funniest ones, me and Ken Sons and another guy named Sam Walsh, we started touring with it. Ken and I had already been touring and headlining, but we could do improv. And Ken and I always did improv at the end of our shows when we were a team. And club owners would always tell us, outside of New York or Chicago or LA or somewhere like that, nobody's doing fucking improv.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's
Yeah.
seeing it.
yeah.
And so they would love it. They would request that we would do it. So we thought, and we actually talked to several club owners, and we said, what if we put together a show with 3 of us? It's going to be a little more expensive, but, because you got to pay 2 headliners and then a middle act. But we'll all do like 10 or 15 minutes of stand-up to prove we're funny, and then we'll do like an hour of improvisation. And it went really well. It just never drew. It never sold
Yeah.
tickets. And so it was too expensive. Everybody brought us through like 2 or 3 times and went, man, we love it, but it's just not selling tickets. But we went, so there was a club in Huntsville, Alabama. And the good club, the guy who ran it was a great guy, good club. And we had been in there as single acts and had a good experience there. We walked out there the very first night. Here's a wild thing about Huntsville. Huntsville, half your crowd is NASA employees.
Oh.
So they're literally rocket scientists.
Oh, great.
You know, they literally are.
That's gotta
and
be
the other
great.
half of the crowd is just regular down-home North Alabama folk, you know.
Oh, my God.
So it's a weird, it's almost like even as a headliner, you can have a lot of experiences where a joke will work with half the audience, but
Yeah.
only half. You
Yeah.
know, the other half is not interested or doesn't get it.
That's a tough split. You got geniuses and people that maybe dropped out of fourth grade.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's
exactly.
right.
Dropped out
So
of fourth
we went up there, and our stand-up went okay, but then we explained the improv, and then we go to the part where we need suggestions from the audience.
Oh, no.
Nothing. Not crazy suggestions. Zero.
Really?
Zero. And it happened for 7 shows in a row.
Oh, my
The
God.
audience would not say anything.
That's
They
odd.
just froze.
What?
And so the staff, the waitresses were the ones that would yell up
Yeah.
suggestions. And then we would go into the sketches, and they were like, their whole attitude was, we came to see stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Why are you asking us questions?
Why are you doing this?
Wow.
And it just tanked every show. No matter, I mean, shit. We had set bits in there that you could flow into. Nothing. The third show, we walked off that fucking stage. We were like, can we keep doing this? And this big old fucking overall guy standing in the back, he's going, hey boys, I gotta ask y'all a question, man. He's just smiling. He goes, how you get a job like that? Wow, they paid y'all?
Oh,
That's
my
incredible.
could
That's
do that.
incredible. And we all went, you're exactly right, sir. In this
yeah.
situation,
You can't even defend yourself.
that's the smartest thing that's been said all night. How you get a job like that? It's amazing.
Oh, now you pipe in.
Yeah,
Fucking
yeah,
asshole.
exactly.
Yeah.
That was the weirdest fucking thing. No,
That's so weird.
I've never had it happen anywhere else. Ever. You would have thought, well, it's just an odd audience. Not that a whole culture of people, a whole culture
For 3 nights. Yeah.
would go, nope.
Not at all.
Don't even know. This is some kind of voodoo. I don't know what's going to happen to me when I become part of it, but I refuse to become part of
Yeah,
this
like I'm
cult.
not falling for this
I'm going to be
bullshit.
part
They
of this
think you're gonna
cult.
keep messing with them after you get the suggestion. I don't understand. I don't know.
Yeah, but
People are afraid to look like an idiot, but
Nothing.
still.
I'll tell you what, in Tampa, like, there's a whole thing, like, all the comics hate improv, not the club, the art form. And the reason being, there's a whole lot of horrible improv in Tampa.
Oh, well, of course.
Because when it's not being done well, it sucks.
it's awful.
It's awful.
It's
yeah.
hard to watch.
Well, stand-up's that way too.
Yeah, I was
it's
gonna
either
say-
good
So
or
exactly. So
yeah.
I can empathize with that. I'm like, because stand-up.
Yeah, but like,
But I'm pretty sure this wasn't a group of people that had seen bad improv. They ain't seen no.
Yeah, they're not.
They were like, I've
They're
seen
not
better.
well-versed
I've seen
improv.
better
They're like,
than this down at the Piggly Wiggly.
Because the thing that we found was in touring, especially when Ken and I were a team, was that the stand-up part of the show, when we were doing that, we would just do maybe 20 minutes of improv at the end, 2 or 3 things, you know. And we found that we just have wonderful sets. The improv always took it up a notch. Even when we felt like it wasn't that good, very lackluster. But just the idea that they knew that you had to be coming up with this off the top of your head.
oh, it's their favorite.
It just and was getting laughs. You know, it always elevated the evening. You
Well,
know,
that's my theory behind crowd work. I think that the reason why crowd work is so successful is because it's right there in front of them.
Oh yeah. There's
Oh,
no-
yeah.
It's tactile. You can see it. You can see the bald guy that you're making fun of. You know what I mean? This guy has a birthday on weird night. You know what I mean? It's like it's right there in front of him. But bad crowd work is so much worse than a bomb.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Like,
crowd work
the-
when it
oh,
goes
yeah.
well is like. I mean, that's amazing. There's a guy. Do you know Jimmy
You can't
Brogan?
follow it.
Oh, very
you
well.
can't
Watch-
follow great crowd work. It's
Jimmy's
Watch-
been here. Jimmy's been
what I mean?
in our room before. He came down here to do some corporate,
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
'cause
private
I was at
shows,
Florida's Funniest.
and he dropped in, and
Trey.
I didn't know. I'd never seen him do stand up, and Bobby Collins was here.
Yeah.
And Bobby said, Brogan's in town. He's going to come by. He said, he's one of the greatest. And I'm a crowd work guy.
Yeah.
He said, you're going to love Jimmy, and just a wonderful guy.
It's amazing to watch, man.
Yes.
That guy will do. Jimmy Brogan will do crowd work for 30, 40 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sneak in
it's like
maybe
that
one
Ian
or two
Bragg
bits.
guy.
Jim McHugh,
You know Ian
who
Yeah.
runs the Boston comedy competition.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
He's
another one that's just
Fantastic.
awesome at crowd work. You know, I don't do crowd work when Jim's here.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna do about 20 minutes of comedy and he's gonna dive into that.
And
crowd.
he's got like Jim was confusing at first for me because he doesn't have the personality that you would think would
Right.
be a good crowd work guy. He's very low energy. I would say lower energy, very witty, and then his crowd work is top notch though. Like it's really good.
in fact,
It's
he's about
impressive.
7 foot tall.
Yeah, he's scary.
Very intimidating. No, but it is. I tell you, Jimmy Brogan, Jay, when he ended the Tonight Show,
Yeah.
it just was a stroke of luck that the Performing Arts Hall here, Van Wezel, had him booked the next night. And I don't think any of that was planned. He was probably booked there,
Oh yeah.
months and months and months before. They probably didn't even know that it was going to correlate to that date, but
Yeah.
it did.
Wow.
And so I called Jay's agent, who I deal with anyway, with other acts. I go, hey man, and usually when a a headliner or somebody that they know in the industry calls and says, hey, can you get me tickets to see a comic?
Right.
Generally, yeah, they can get you tickets and they can get you backstage if it's somebody you want to really meet when they know you're a. And so he was like, well, I'll check. And then he called me back and he was like, Les, he goes, I'm gonna tell you, he goes, I called his management, I left a message for Jay, a couple other places, I've heard nothing back. So he goes, you're just trying to get to the guy that everybody in the world's trying to get to right now. He's just got the
Yeah.
most attention on him and
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
that, and the other, leaving the Tonight Show right now. So I was like, okay. And then I thought, fuck, I'll call Brogan.
Yeah.
That's one of
Yeah.
his best buddies, I
Yeah,
think.
his number one. Yeah.
Hey.
So
gotta
I
work
left
there.
a message for Jimmy, and Jimmy was like, yeah, man, no problem, because I called Jay. He said, come on back. So we get over to Van Wezel, and literally there were 3 people at the backstage that could go in to see Jay. Natasha Leggero's dad, me and Pam, and a guy that Jay went to college with.
It's awesome.
And nobody else got, and everybody's
Yeah.
like, how the fuck did you get back there? Jimmy fucking Brogan,
Yeah.
God love him. And so yeah, that was very cool.
He's such a good
Very
dude
cool.
too. I remember I did
Really
a show.
nice.
I used to promote shows at the Irvine Improv just to get stage time right.
Uh-huh.
And I met him at I think Comedy and Magic Club.
Right.
And I asked him. I felt bad asking because he's Jimmy Brogan. I go, hey, would you mind doing a show in Irvine? I could get you a couple $100. He's like, yeah, no problem, Mark. Showed
Wow.
up, killed it,
Wow.
crushed the crowd, hung out afterwards. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, exactly. He's just a comic.
He's a comic, loves doing
Yeah.
comedy.
Yeah, exactly. It was
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he did his private gig and then came over here, did a guest set, farted around with us, just super guy. And then fast forward, so we met Jay briefly and got a picture and just chatted a little bit.
Yeah.
And so a year goes by, a year and a half, and they book him back again. So I see he's back again. So I call Brogan again. I said, hey, Jimmy, just you have my number. I said, please give it to Jay. I don't expect in a million years he's going to do this, but I have Tom Arnold here, and his show is going to be over by the time our late show starts. So if Jay feels like dropping by or whatever, come on over. Of course, it'd be great.
Right.
And I didn't expect in a million years, and of course he didn't. But I grabbed my phone the next day. Might have been 2 days later. And you know how you'll get those numbers
Yeah.
that just are random?
Yeah.
Well, this one was, and every once in a while you get one that goes unknown. It just comes up unknown. On my phone it will. And there was one that was unknown. And usually I just go through and just delete them. But the unknown had about, a 30-second thing on it. And I was just out of curiosity, I'm going to listen to what it was. It's Leno. He's like, hey, Les, how's it going, man? He goes, I just check and see what y'all doing over there, Well, of course, I can't call him the fuck back
Right.
because his number's blocked,
Right.
And I called Brogan. I said, tell Jay, thanks a lot for calling. I said, I didn't answer it because it came up unknown. I said, Who the fuck is more not unknown than Jay?
Yeah.
He can't be unknown.
That's hilarious.
It needs to come up, It should come up, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Answer the phone.
Yeah, you know.
I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you know.
Just answer. Just answer the phone. That's what it should say. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's funny.
Oh, God.
Man, I wonder what he probably went through some kind of company to do that, to block his number like that.
I don't know.
It's interesting.
I don't know.
It's Jay and Verizon. They both have it.
That may be it. That may be it.
He bought
I know-
stock in Verizon. That's
Yeah.
I know one of my comics was out there for a while, and he worked it's the Comedy Magic Club right in
Yeah.
Hermosa Beach,
Yeah,
where Jay
Hermosa.
goes on Sundays. And that's what Jimmy told me. He goes, if you're ever out here, call me. He said, we're there.
It's
If
cool.
Jay's in town. He said, we're there on Sunday. Come on over. And then one of my buddies, who's a comic out there, he said, Mike Lacey came up to me, knowing that something had come up that I was coming to Sarasota. He goes, tell Les Mccurdy to come out here sometime. And, because we're similar. It's him and his wife, and it's me and my wife. And
Yeah.
there's not many of those husband-wife combos out there, especially been doing it as long as we have.
Right.
So I hadn't made it yet, but it's on my bucket list to make it out there in the next year and,
should.
and go out there on a Sunday and love to meet Mike. I mean, he's one of those other guys that you just don't hear a discouraging word about.
Wow.
I mean, I've never heard a bad word about him or the club. Always they just treat people well. Great club.
Yeah, that's one of I live about 45 minutes from that club, and I was able to get in that rotation. That was for me a big moment, because that was one of the clubs that I used to go to watch Jay on Sunday. And
Right.
for me, even before doing stand-up, I saw that, and I was like, this is the Mecca. This is the spot.
Yeah.
When you watch old stand-up, you recognize that stage, the front of it, even though they've repainted it, what it is. So yeah, that place has some nostalgia for sure.
And I imagine they still do good business.
Oh, they crushed. They opened up a second room,
Oh, did they?
so now comics can get 8 sets in a night. So
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Nice. Is it where is it located?
It's so they built a whole back end.
In the same location.
Same location. They
Oh,
just I think
wow.
they probably went into the parking or something. I don't know what it was before, but I mean it's I don't know, probably seats 80, 90. So it's not as big as the main room,
Right.
but
Yeah.
It's
they're
like
both
what happened
packed.
with the Comedy Cellar.
Yeah.
It got so big that they took over the Village Underground,
Yeah.
which was music, and now it's just all comedy,
Yeah.
because it just got so huge, Well, it's like, we were in New York, and we'll usually go by the Cellar, and if I'm gonna go see comedy, that's usually where we'll go.
Yeah.
And usually Pam and I'll go one night, and I mean they're fucking packed all the time, and shit. I called Lynn Coplitz, and I was like, "Are you playing?" She goes, "I'm doing brunch." Brunch. She goes, "Yeah, we got a Sunday fucking brunch." She goes, "It's packed." I said, I fucking got to see this, eggs and comedy.
Sunday brunch.
That's how you
Brunch.
know your club's doing well, when you
Yeah.
have to open at 10
Brunch
a.m. on
fucking
Sunday.
packed. And but I got thinking about it as I going, when people come to L.A. and New York, especially those two markets, or Nashville, those three markets, you come to see a star.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a tourist, you're going. You hope that you're going to see a star. Well, where's the most likely place in New York or L.A. to actually see a star that you can actually get access to? Comedy club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The famous comedy clubs. You go to Comedy Cellar, you're probably going to see a celebrity there
Yeah.
almost
Maybe even a
every
couple.
night. But
Yeah.
absolutely.
Same with the Comedy Store. Is just
Yeah,
they're always popping in.
Absolutely.
That list is ridiculous. You're like Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle. What
Oh,
the
of
fuck?
course.
Who's this guy? He has to follow those guys. Fuck that.
Oh, I know. I did the Comedy Store on Sunset on Saturday last week, just upstairs in the belly room, and I was just hanging out downstairs watching all the comics pull up. I'm just like, it's mind blowing. They're
Yeah.
all there.
Like,
Right.
What am I gonna do? with this?
Everybody, Rogan, everybody.
The belly room,
Yeah.
the little side room.
Yeah. It's upstairs, right?
Yeah, upstairs.
Yeah.
I heard Chappelle likes that room a lot. Like
Maybe.
that's
He
like
did
works in-
he did a special there.
Did he, is that where it was?
Like
He filmed it?
he had 4 specials that came out, and one of them was in the belly room, and that was like the more intimate special for
Oh,
sure.
nice.
Yeah.
He kept on going. Y'all want to know why I left? You want to know why I left? And then he wouldn't address
He
it.
wouldn't tell him.
Yeah, and then I'm like, come on, why'd you leave?
I remember I met Chappelle, so I quit. I didn't do stand up for 10 years. I don't know if you know that.
Well,
Yeah.
Mike told me that.
Yeah.
That you kind of went and had a career and then got into comedy, which is probably the smartest.
He was my first clue.
You can do.
When I was hanging out with him last time, he's like, let's go get something to eat. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool. And I'm like, McDonald's, Taco Bell, like maybe. He's like, no, let's go to Madison's. And I was like, oh, it's a little bit above my price range.
Yeah,
He
so
goes, don't worry, I got you. I was like,
I did stand-up for like 3 years. I started when I was like 22, 23. And I loved it. Started moving up the ranks, getting in good clubs, toured with Tosh. He gave me stage time.
Right.
And then for some reason, I don't even know why, I just stopped.
Yeah.
I literally stopped for 10 years. And I say stop, like I was getting up once a month, but that's not doing stand-up.
Right.
no.
And then my wife one day goes, I couldn't even watch stand-up on TV because it was like hard to see. And she goes, you got to do stand-up again. So I started doing it again.
Yeah.
And now I'm at it, 2 years, hitting it hard again. And dude, I love it.
You
And
love
what was
it.
your business?
Recruiting,
Recruiting.
tech recruiting.
Oh,
Yeah.
for big companies.
Yeah, big companies, big
Gotcha.
corporations. So I did
Awesome.
that, and so I'm doing it at a weird angle, but
A good
do
angle,
you still
though.
do that at all?
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You
I
can
have
still
like a
supplement
flexible
your-
schedule where I can just.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, I can tell you. Yeah, that's why I'm 40, and most people my age that have been doing stand-up straight for 15 years have probably moved up to headliner status.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, I just want minutes behind a mic, and I want to
Yeah.
learn, So
Yeah.
technically, it's like I've been at it 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Sure. And you're the type. I mean, I'm watching your show. You're the type that's just gonna. You're not gonna have to force the headline issue. You'll get good enough.
Right.
You'll be good enough for a while in a middle slot to where already people are gonna be going, we should be closing him.
Yeah.
Or doing that split week. I know one of the things we're looking at next year. We've got so many weekend celebrities already going into the first 4 months of the year that we're going to burn out our Florida comics doing the Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. I may have to start looking at really strong feature acts or even headliners that fit the celebrities that'll work, that can come in and headline the off nights and middle with the celebrities
good idea.
on the weekends, you know what I mean? To keep the show quality high and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah. There's
which
some
is
out
a
there.
different. It's almost like you're looking for that what we used to call the co-headliner,
Right.
acts that can do a really strong 40 for sure.
Yeah.
Like they don't even question that, and you just bring in two of those guys.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
split the budget, and it's a little less than you would make as a headliner, but not a lot.
Cam Bertram
couple
just won
$100
Florida's
bucks.
Funniest.
What's that?
Said Cam Bertram just won Florida's Funniest.
Oh, I know. I'm
He
glad
also
for Cam.
Just filmed Dry Bar.
Yeah, he just filmed a dry bar
Yeah,
special.
no, that's great. Cam's a good dude, and
he might
got
be one
a
of
great
those-
personality on stage. Some good stuff.
He's real young, but
Yeah, him and JB both. We
JB's killing it right now.
well, JB.
I just saw him.
Where
I
was
was here
that?
with him, but yeah, he lives.
That
I
was
saw him
awesome.
at a club the other night. a couple
That
weeks
was
ago.
like one of my best experiences so far, especially in this room. Was I got to do when I got to host for you and JB.
Yeah.
So it was the first time, and I was like, I can actually relate to these guys. Like, this is awesome. You know, like,
JB's a
we
cool
were,
guy,
We were
man.
all hanging out, and JB's back hurt, so he put the. Did you know about that? He took this couch and put it on stage, and he
No.
sat
Yeah, the
down.
second night he couldn't even walk.
He couldn't even walk.
Wow.
He sat down and did his stand-up hour and fucking murdered
hurt his back
just by sitting in that just sitting in a chair like you were you were smoking a cigar with him or something.
right.
He fucking killed.
He was doing sit down.
Sit down comedy.
Sit down, stand up.
And he was doing great. Like almost better. It was like Morpheus up there. It's just-
He's a great guy. He's such a. I love when I meet people that are bona fide. They're just hilarious, but then they're also really, really nice.
yeah.
Yes,
Very supportive too.
absolutely.
That almost means more than the other. Like you
Yeah.
can hang out with them. They're supportive. Yeah.
huge sports fan too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loves his basketball. That guy can dunk, by the way.
I heard he could.
He throws down.
Yeah, he's very good.
awesome.
He definitely
He
played
couldn't walk when he
basketball.
was here, but 2 weeks later he was dunking.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
me and Kevin had this ongoing theory that he faked it the whole time just to see if he could get away with putting the fucking thing on stage.
And
Just,
sitting down.
just to see if he could do it. I really
Sure.
like. I wouldn't put it
He
past
couldn't
him.
move. No, I
He's
saw him in the
he's a
condo
genius.
and he could not move.
Yeah, he's a
Oh.
genius. But yeah. No, he's great. He actually gave me some of the best advice. I remember I was like foolishly asking him, like I showed him like one of my videos and I was like, hey, like what am I doing wrong here, sort of thing. And he goes, I like you, and that's why I'm telling you this. He's like, I'm not gonna give you any advice until maybe 2 years in.
Yeah.
And I was like, why?
How many years are you?
I've just hit my 2-year mark. And he was like, because it would be unfair. He's like, you need to grow and naturally go in your own way before you start listening to other people's advice. Like, you just kind of have to fail on your own.
Well, I always like younger comics that come to me and at your level, been in their first year or two, and they start asking all these questions about their, their voice and their character and all. I go, man.
Yeah.
You need to worry about one fucking thing. Getting laughs. And a lot of them. I don't give a shit. At this point, don't you worry how you do it.
Yeah.
If
Just do it.
If you can unzip your pants and pull a puppet out of there or a handkerchief and it works, fucking do it. And because they get ahead of themselves. And it's like, nah, you just and it's like he's saying, once you got the place to where, you can walk on a stage and you can do 30 minutes rock solid.
Right.
80% of the time, 80 to 90% of the time, your shit's always working.
Yeah.
Then you can start thinking about
your angles.
Things and that. Stuff. Now you figured out how to put things together and get the laugh.
You're ready to take on advice almost. You're ready to take on
It makes sense.
Different outside ideas almost.
Yeah, otherwise.
Yeah,
but
otherwise
everybody wants shit to happen faster than it happens.
Yeah, if you're a year in and you're like, how do I find my voice? It's like, no, man. How do you hold the microphone? How you moving around? Let's start there.
Laughs per minute.
Let's work on your timing.
Laughs
and
per
your
minute.
edits.
And I always like the middle acts that come to me that are ready to headline.
Oh,
And I go,
yeah.
I feel like that's something people
you might
will
be
tell
here.
you.
Not here. Well, you know what? It's the easiest thing for me. And I said, I'll do this for you. I'm going to tape the last 10 minutes of your set. And then I'm going to tape the first 10 minutes of the headliner set. And I want you to hear the difference. And you're getting laughs. But I want you to hear the difference in the volume of the laughter when that because it's different. And a lot of middle acts are in a little denial with that. They don't want to hear it.
Yep.
But the club owner can hear it. It's distinctly different. It's just
I had that last
moves
night.
everything up a notch.
Last night I'm like, I feel like that was a good set.
You did have a
and
good
set.
set.
And then Ron goes up there and crushes for 40. I'm like, are there more people in there? Like it was just like, let's just say it was wall to wall. There wasn't a person not laughing. And I'm like, wow, okay, he had a good set. What I did was just okay.
That was like Rob Little. Mm-hmm. Like I haven't seen somebody like really crush a room like that in a long time. Like where he was just everything was hitting, and he was rolling into the next thing and rolling into the next thing, and it was like
people are gasping for air.
Like you can't even pretend that he doesn't deserve to be up there. You know what I mean? Like it was insane. Like,
absolutely.
I think Joe Coy's the same way, or like Daniel Tosh. When I used to watch him, he was like a big influence for me. And I remember watching Tosh. I'm like, God, this guy, he doesn't let the audience breathe.
Right.
And like you just said, the volume of laughter is night and day.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
you can hear it. It's
every headliner we bring in here, you do not see a middle go up.
No.
And have the equal.
No.
Yes, that's just rare.
Right.
Rare, if ever.
Very. Eric Myers, I mean,
oh god,
that guy.
Yeah, I just watched him last week, and it was one of those things where like he was consistently funny to the end of the show, but like somewhere around like halfway through, like they were tired.
Yeah.
They'd laughed themselves out, and they were trying to laugh, but you could hear them like. They were like, dude, like, you're killing
me. Give me a break, man.
Let me bite some.
Take a pill, Eric. Give me a break.
Eric is just
he's a maniac.
Crazy
monster,
person.
And that just comes from years and years and years of doing it.
I'm always amazed at
and
how
a mental disorder.
I'm always amazed at how insecure he is. Like, I don't know if he's playing around with it, but like I remember when whoever was middling for him. Mm-hmm. Like they went up and he's like, "Oh God, he's fucking crushing! Like, what am I gonna do?" And I'm like, "You're fine. Like, you're gonna be okay."
Yeah, we did have a middle with him that was really good. I can't remember who it was, and he was nervous. He was nervous about following.
It was Bill Osei.
Was it
Bull?
Oh, Bull.
Yeah, who's that? He's
yeah.
But Eric Myers, I mean, fuck, like
I've known a few.
The fact that
headliners
he gets nervous, like almost like.
Yeah,
it's empowering.
Oh, I've known.
yeah.
I've known several headliners coming up that one did not want to go to headliner.
Wow.
I mean, you had to tell them, "I won't middle you anymore." I mean, if you won't headline, I can't use you because my headliners really truly do have trouble following you, You know,
Like Mike Rivera, right? Was that
Mike
one of
Rivera was one of them.
Yeah, Mike Rivera.
And used to really get ill before a show. I mean,
Yeah.
have such stage fright that just get ill. And I've known a few of those.
That's crazy.
That are that way. And there's some out there. Well, I mean, Mitch Hedberg, that was he couldn't even that was part of his style of not looking at the audience and stuff.
Wore
but
sunglasses a lot
It
of
was just
times.
terrible stage fright. You know.
Yeah, he kept his. I mean, I was lucky enough to see him perform once, and I was right up front, and I remember looking up. I'm like, his eyes are closed. He had those glasses on, and his eyes were shut.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I saw him with who was the other Stephen Lynch.
Yes.
Yeah, Stephen Lynch and Mitch Hedberg. I see him. He I don't know. Mitch was
Stephen
so
Wright?
fucked up. Stephen Lynch.
Oh, yeah.
He had like the
Guitar act.
Oh,
Great
yeah,
act.
yeah.
Very, very funny.
I saw him and Mitch Hedberg. Mitch was so fucked up, man. He
Yeah.
was like holding himself up between two bar stools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still crushing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
Crazy.
just like
I know it's crazy
in a
when somebody's
pile.
that gifted.
But they're
And
so
but
insecure.
yet they're so terrible. Well, I mean, the Barbara Streisand was one that admitted,
Yeah.
you know, just not enjoying that
Yeah.
like you'd think they would.
Right.
And
It's a lot of pressure.
well, I mean, and Adele, there's another diva singer that does just a nervous wreck
Yeah.
going up in front of people, and it's wild when you're that fucking gifted, you know, that you just don't. But you just don't. Something about you just doesn't believe it.
Well, that's like Eddie Murphy. Did you watch him in Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee?
I did watch
No,
that.
I didn't see
There's
that.
Yeah.
a point in that where I had to rewind it and watch it again to make sure I heard it right. He's telling Jerry that how nervous he was during Delirious and Raw, and how he was
Yeah.
inside so nervous up there.
Right.
But all he exudes is confidence. Like, you're
Yeah.
nervous. The dude in the red leather suit up there, just owning it, is nervous.
Yeah.
And inside, he said he was just a wreck.
right.
It's amazing though, like how I've, and you know, when you go into like a one nighter or a shitty room and you're like, this is gonna suck, and you don't get nervous because you're like, this is gonna be awful, and then it goes bad, it goes terrible, and then you go into the ones where you do get nervous and you feel like, I hope I don't trip, like you're really like in your own head, and then you fucking have a great set, and I think it's because you care. Like you
Yeah.
truly care.
Yes.
And if
you
you
get more
don't,
focused.
one guy told me a long time ago, I forget what his name is, because if you don't get that feeling, he's like, don't go up.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
it's just not gonna go well. It's gonna go awful. If you don't have that nervous feeling, that edge, you know.
I don't get nervous anymore much.
Yeah, but you're.
I know we were all talking about, you're sitting here and then like you just go right up there, like
Uh-huh.
no, two seconds in.
But you know,
You're the
40
exception.
years.
Yeah, that'll do it.
You know, a lot of thousands.
Same
of
with
shows.
but I even see Ken. Like Ken, I know he doesn't get nervous, but like I see him
Ken's
in the back of
crazy.
the room, like stretching and stuff.
Now
and,
Ken
like, doing his thing, and I'm
see,
like,
Ken does my old part. Now, see, Ken, when I got into theater at University of Memphis, you know, we were roommates, and we'd known each other since we were kids. And Ken never wanted anything to do with public speaking or
Wow.
being on any kind of stage in any way, shape, or fucking form. But among a small group, like if they're of friends, he was always the funniest.
Yeah, yeah.
Always, by far, everybody would say he's the fucking funniest.
yeah.
But he had to be in a comfortable situation, and he wouldn't get on stage ever. And then he, the first time I got him on stage, I was doing a DJ show to promote progressive country back in the 70s. And one of my buddies was closing his bar down. Artie Brown had this bar called High Cotton. Hell, Leonard Skinner used to play in there.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, in Memphis. And he was closing it down. It was the last night, and so we were the first part of the show, and then this other group that did a parody of 50s music, which was real popular back then. You know, American Graffiti shit and this, that, and the other. They did the other thing, and so I said, "Look, Ken, come with me. We're just spinning records and raising hell with the crowd." I said, "They're gonna give us. I said, I'll give you $25 of my money, and they're gonna give us a bottle of schnapps and as much beer as we want to drink."
Yeah, yeah.
And I said, "There'll be fucking chicks everywhere." and he was like, "Okay." I said,
Yeah.
"You just sit there and hand me. I'll tell you the next," because we were actually spinning real records,
Yeah,
real fucking
right.
records.
Yeah.
So I said, "I'll tell you what to hand me." So we're sitting there, and from the back of the room, we'd been on stage for about 30, 40 minutes. It's maybe 9 o'clock in the evening. I look in the back room, and here comes this guy I know. He's at Hellraiser, and a guy named Big Mike. Here comes Big Mike, butt naked.
Oh, jeez.
Totally fucking butt-ass naked, walking from the bathroom up, and right behind him is his beautiful stripper girlfriend, totally nude.
Wow.
And they walk up, and Mike jumps on the stage and starts raising hell with the crowd. This is and the girl sits in Ken's lap. Well, Ken's turned around getting a record, so he just feels something hit his knee. Weight, a person, and he turns around, and here is this drop-dead gorgeous redhead with her big old tits right there. She grabs him and da-da-da-da. And I went to Ken, I go, show business shit's cool. It's cool, man. And so then I got him to do I finally got him to do stand-up with me out in Denver when we were out there. When we first tried it, we did it as a team. And he still was very, but he's one of those, I told Ken, he wasn't getting on stage for a long time.
Yeah.
And Ken's one of those guys that, it was about a year or so ago, and I knew he hadn't been on stage in months.
Yeah.
And he walked in here, needed him to do a set for something, or middle or something. He walked in here, walked up on that stage, and just killed.
Yeah.
And just killed. And not with any material that was just fucking mind-boggling or anything. Just good, solid, just a great entertainer.
Yeah.
Just walks up there for 20. He walked off that stage, and I go, a lot of people, when they hadn't done comedy for a couple of weeks,
Right.
are rusty. You ain't been on stage in months.
Yeah.
And you walk up there.
Yeah.
I said, you know something, man? You have a gift.
Yeah.
You have a gift. You've always had that. See, it's inherent in the nature of who you are. I said, you just are. And I said, but you're not using it. He's general manager of a big web design company. And I said, you do good at that.
Right.
Obviously, you're great at that job, but that's not what God
It's not your
gave
gift.
you. That's not your deal. You know what I mean? And sometimes your gift has nothing to do with how you make money.
Yeah, true.
But it's a shame that you're not doing it. And after that, he really started
Yeah, I mean,
getting back up and doing it a lot. And I was like, I really want you to, if I'm not hosting, you be the host.
yeah, he's
But,
fabulous at it.
But yeah, just
It's
just a
always
good
interesting.
entertainer.
It's interesting to see him though. It's like a robot almost. Like he'll just go up there,
Uh-huh.
and nothing phases him. Just goes in there. Even on those lackluster crowds, he still has the same exact energy. Exact same energy,
Yeah.
which I always try to do. It's hard. It's hard for me to give them more than they're giving me.
Sinbad taught us that.
Yeah.
Well, early on when we first worked with him, and he was just starting the headline, and we going out on Wednesday night, and it'd be 30 people there.
Yeah.
And then on Saturday night, it's packed. And what we saw with Sinbad every time, same show.
Yeah, same energy.
Same show, same energy, same attitude. He was like, hey, you didn't know there was only going to be 30 people here
Right.
tonight. You came to a comedy club.
Yeah.
He gave them, and I've always said, and he taught us that never let the audience designate your energy level.
Yeah.
You're the pro. You're the
Yeah.
one in charge of They just showed up. Thank
Yeah.
God. You didn't have nobody.
It's so
You
interesting.
know?
Yeah.
That's
it's
one
hard
of the
to
worst.
do that.
I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I see a lot of younger comics make is they'll go into like a bar show where there's 15, 20 people, and they just bring their energy way down.
They also disrespect it. Like,
Yeah,
they're
and,
like,
and
"Yeah,
then they
this
call out.
sucks."
It's part of their act. Like, oh, you guys, this.
I saw a comic one
They
time.
bail before they even
Yeah.
try.
Why even go up there then?
Right.
Yeah,
I went-
like why? I don't know. People go off, be like, "Don't be mad. Don't be mad. Be mad at the people who aren't here. Like these people are actually here."
Exactly.
I
Like,
hate that.
have
I
you
hate it at open mics too. When people come to an open mic talking their shit, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. There's two people here.
Yeah.
Tell your jokes to those two people the same way you would tell them to a
Exactly.
full
I've
room.
been in
Yeah.
a strip club where there's 10 people, and that stripper still brought it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember.
Needs that 20
she
bucks,
needs
man.
it. Yeah.
I remember you were hosting at Iberian one time, and I got there real early, but everybody was a dick, and they all like jumped in front of me and put their name down on the list, so I couldn't even get on the top 15, and it just put a bad taste in my mouth, and I was like, you know what, I'm just whatever. I mean, y'all gonna be dicks about it, whatever. And then somebody dropped out, and you came up and grabbed me out of nowhere, and I went
was
down
like,
there,
"Yo, I'll
and
get
there
you
was
up."
like 8 people in there. And I wasn't prepared at all, and I was like
You were
crowd
about
work.
to go home or something.
Yeah, and I was doing like fucking with the two people that are up front. I was asking them if they were like married or some shit like that. I'm fucking around, and then I went to this guy in the corner, and I'm like, he's fucking sleeping. I don't give a shit about this guy. And then this guy ended up being a comic, and he comes up on stage and starts yelling at me because he got mad that I called him sleepy or some shit. And then he started
Is that the same night
screaming
that guy,
at me.
when I went up on stage, like I was trying to work on that bit, like that I have about like if comedies are like it's so much easier to just be a serial killer, like there's like a quicker way to get famous than
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
doing.
That was
And I
it.
was working on that bit, and then the guy like got up and was like, "Oh, you're gonna complain about comedy being hard and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, this
you
guy was
you
a
know you gotta
prick.
put up or shut up," or and they went off and like talk shit about
goes-
me for like 5 straight minutes.
He was
and I'm
a
like, "Thank you."
bitch.
He drove all the way from Pensacola.
Yeah.
I was like, "You drove all the way from Pensacola to talk shit about the other comics at the open mic?"
Yeah, dude.
Like when you're driving,
Yeah.
you make an impression.
This guy got mad at me. He called me a fat Bill Burr, and I'm like, thank you. That
Thank
means
you.
a lot to me.
He's got other
That ended up
reasons.
being-
He's
that
got
ended
other reasons for being.
No, he was mad. But my favorite part, he goes, I'm sleepy. I've been here since 8:30, and I look back at him, and he's on stage at this point, and I was like, I've been here since 7. I said,
Yeah.
go fuck yourself. Like,
I would, just so you know, I would call you a strong Bill Burr.
yeah.
That's how I would
Strong
word that.
Bill Burr, yeah.
Like a meaty.
That's what, you know what I like?
Healthy Bill Burr.
I like about stand-up is no matter how famous you are, it comes down to funny, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I was at this was at the Ice House years ago, and Dom Herrera was closing.
Yes.
And that guy is
Smoke
a
show.
master with a mic.
Master.
And I was featuring, and I was just learning from him, sitting in the back. And then Nick Cannon walks in the green room, and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna do a set after Dom." And they let him do it. And Dom came in the back and in the green room, and he goes, "Watch what's gonna happen." And I watched. Well, he and I went over there, and I watched. The crowd went nuts. Dom got off. Crowd goes crazy. They announced Nick Cannon's gonna do a quick spot, and everyone goes nuts. Oh, and this is right when he broke up with Mariah Carey, so it was
Oh,
the
yeah.
tension was on him.
Right.
2 minutes in, Nick lost him completely.
Yeah.
And then Dom leans over and he goes, "See that?" I'm like, "That's true, man.
Yeah.
You can't go after that unless you're ready to bring it."
Yeah.
So I'm assuming Nick was just driving by and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go try and do a 15 to 30 minute set."
It's like what we talked about. Well, you were on stage maybe, but we talking about when Ron Feingold had seen Tommy Chong go up years and years ago, and
Yeah.
he wasn't ready, and he wasn't
Yeah.
ready. And we saw the same thing when he first started going up. He wasn't ready. He thought that he could just talk about, he's a big star, and he could just
His
talk about, and he
experiences.
was funny, but his experience, and then he went and got a team of writers. He didn't do that long, and really started working it and put together a good strong
An act,
show,
yeah.
and then toured with it for a long time. We had him at the club many times. He was great, and people loved him. But yeah, no, it does. We saw that with Tommy, with a room full of people that loved him. I mean,
Yeah.
just loved him. And you get about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
of
it's
gratuity.
probably like 5 when I saw it, but it
Yeah,
was,
yeah. Then it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a learning experience for me because Dom, he's like, "Watch what's gonna happen." I'm like, "No way, man. That's Nick Cannon. Everyone's talking about him right now."
Yeah.
That he kind of smirks and looked at me. I'm like, "Oh, all right. You
Yeah.
gotta bring it."
But he's not a stand-up.
Right. He's not exactly.
Actually,
It's
Dom's
kind of like
fantastic.
the same thing if the Rams were playing the Raiders and Nick Cannon showed up and
Right.
said, Can I go out and be a receiver?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they go, "Well, it is Nick Cannon. The
Let's
crowd
let
will
him
love it.
for 4
Playing
minutes."
receiver tonight, Nick," and the crowd will go, "No fucking way. We didn't know Nick Cannon could play in the NFL."
And he can't.
Well, he can't play in the
Nick
NFL.
Cannon's leaving in an ambulance.
He's paralyzed now,
Nick
but
Cannon is now.
it was
paralyzed.
funny. It was funny.
Wiling out from the waist up.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
I know.
that's interesting. Yeah, you got to be funny. You're right. You got to actually be funny.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
trying to learn too, and just on this show, just now I had it. There's a guy in the front row, emotionless my entire set, and then at the end he was clapping the loudest, and I'm just like, "Did you just
Wow.
hold it in? Is that what's
Yeah.
going on with you?"
Was it a real
I think
old fella
so.
sitting
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there?
yeah.
So funny. When I did that, the guy, I get it because I carry the golf club on stage, and every once in a while somebody will just yell out, "What's up with the golf club?"
Right.
And so what I do is I say, I play golf, and I love playing golf. And when you love something, you really, really love something, you should touch it. You should keep it close to you. I said, And I just challenge the audience right now, if there's anything within arm's reach that you love, I want you to touch it right now. And of course, the stock joke is nobody touched their dick or
Right.
whatever. But that guy's wife reached over to touch him, and he moved away from her.
Damn.
And I said
Did you
it.
call it out?
Oh, yes, I did. I said,
wow.
she went to touch him, and he flinched.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I said, "You've been hitting him, ma'am. Have you been abusing that man?
Yeah.
Been abusing that man.
For real. He doesn't want to be here.
That explains it. He knew my whole set. He's like, God, I'm getting a divorce tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Working that.
But how sad was that?
Yeah.
His wife reaches over to touch
That
him.
is
He's
sad.
Like, not here.
That's weird to
I was
see.
like, yeah, that is weird.
It is
Fucking
weird.
stupid.
That'll throw me off.
Awful.
I would do the next 10 minutes about that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh no, I made him pay a little bit for that. Sweet woman reaching up, grandma reaching
Did he
over.
smile though?
No.
Oh man.
No, he was like, and
That's gonna be a weird
That
car
happened,
ride home.
Yeah.
That happened with Chris Cope and Vinny Ward. Remember that guy that was sitting right up front, and he was like, not only was he not laughing, he was like
Mean
just
mugging.
mean mugging everybody, and they were like kind of freaked out about it. I'm not gonna lie.
it's one of the oldest conversations in comedy, but it is how many times we've seen acts, even seasoned headliners, one guy is sitting there like that, and you're making another 150 people laugh, and you fixate on that one guy,
Yeah.
and you abandon your show and go after that one guy, and now you have fucked the 150 people who love you. You put a weird vibe on the audience, and that's your own fragile ass ego.
Yeah, you lost them all.
You know, doing that. You know, fuck that guy. Who
Fuck
gives
that
a
guy.
Shit. You know. The one of the. Oh, here he goes. One of the worst was years ago. I had a comic on stage, headliner, and a guy named Rick Kearns, who I think he got out of comedy. I think he sold his act to Ron White, but good solid act. And Rick was kind of a rebel, kind of guy, on stage and
Yeah.
everything, a little bit rough, but you always liked Rick, and he got a guy came in and sat on the front row, and the guy was probably 45-ish,
Yeah.
and dressed like impeccably, and he had 3 women with him that were Christy Brinkley, drop dead gorgeous. I mean,
Jeez.
they were so beautiful that as a comment, you could not. It was really hard
Right, not
to
focus
not
on it.
look at them, to not
Yeah.
to say something. They were distracting, and they weren't doing anything.
Yeah.
They were nice. They were sitting there and just enjoying the
existing.
show, just existing.
Right.
But so beautiful, they were making everybody uncomfortable. And so Rick got up there, and it was actually throwing it threw the middle act show off a little bit.
Wow.
And
That's another level of
where
pretty.
he came off and went, "I'm so sorry, Les." He goes, "I've just never been that close to women that fucking beautiful. I mean, they were unbelievable." And Rick got up there and decided he was going to, make sure that he was the star of this room, and so he started fucking with them,
Yeah.
right? And mostly the guy, "How did you end up with these 3?" And da da da. Well, for a few minutes, it was okay. They were laughing, everything, but he wouldn't let it go. He just kept
Took over the
on,
show.
kept on, and they didn't deserve it. They weren't doing anything.
Yeah.
He kept on, and it was getting laughs, but it was getting uncomfortable laughs. Well, of course, eventually they got up and left, and of course the guy's pissed. He comes up to me and he is fucking pissed, and I went, "Sir, I agree with you. You have every right to be pissed. That won't happen again. I'll never be back here. Well, whether you do or not, that won't happen again."
Yeah.
And Rick walked back, and he was, and I knew Rick for a while, and he's like, he goes, "Well, I'm kind of sorry, man. I shouldn't have done that." I go,
Yeah.
"No, you shouldn't have done it." And he goes, "But you know what, Les? I got to be honest with you. I can't say that I would never do that again." I go, "Not here.
Yeah.
You won't do that here
Yeah.
ever
Exactly.
again.
Yeah.
You'll never book."
Are we all going up at the end of his?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just wait. He's gonna. He'll bring it back out. All right, guys. Thanks for being on the podcast. Appreciate it. We'll wrap it up.
All right, Buff Bill Burr.
Exactly. Thanks again for listening to the podcast. Please go to our website, mccurdyscomedy.com, for all of our upcoming events and shows. We actually have a lot of great comics coming up, especially at the beginning of the new year. A lot of fucking celebrities coming in, guys, so definitely don't sleep on those tickets. And also, if you liked Ron Feingold, please follow him at ronfeingold.com. All of his information's there. He sells a lot of really cool merchandise, actually, that even if you haven't seen his show, you still might enjoy, so check that out. If you liked Marc, please follow him at Marc Takemiya on Instagram. That's MARC_TAKEMIYA. Both these guys, I had a great time talking to both these guys. And Mccurdy was also on the podcast. Don't forget about him. He was our special guest. We hope to get him in the club soon. Please check him out. Go to his Facebook, Mccurdy. That's MATTCARTER. He's based out of Tampa. He's hilarious. Go check him out. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.